What is up, YouTube? Welcome in to another edition of Texas Sports Unfiltered. We are live from the Big Easy. We are at Manning's Sports Bar and Grill in the French Quarter of New Orleans, talking all things Texas and Washington as we sit one day away from kickoff of the All-State Sugar Bowl. We are in New Orleans. We are super excited to be here, and we will be broadcasting live from right here at Manning's until 5 o'clock, talking all things Texas and Washington, getting y'all set for the college football playoff. It is a Texas Sports Unfiltered roundtable, once again at a table that is not round. So we've got a long table here at Manning's, and we've got a big cast of characters on hand with us today. To start, we've got Rodney Rodriguez, we've got Zay Collier, we've got Bucky Godbolts, and I am BK Brad Kellner. Buck, I'll start with you first.
Yes, sir.
It's been a long time coming. December 2nd, the last time the Texas Longhorns played a college football game. December 1st, the last time the Washington Huskies have played a college football game. We still have to wait one more day, but it is finally upon us. The Sugar Bowl is here.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a long journey for both teams, and it's going to be an awful lot of fun for everybody that really likes some really offensive displays. I mean, you're going to see some great offense tomorrow, I've got to believe. And, you know, with Washington right now, the way they're playing, and Michael Penix Jr. and this Washington Huskies team and Quinn Ewers and this Texas offensive team, along with their defense, it should be an exciting game for all to see tomorrow. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. And, you know, I got somebody's name wrong up here. I said Zay was with us, but it's not Zay Collier. We were actually joined by Texas right tackle Cam Williams at our roundtable here at Texas Sports Unfiltered.
God bless that child that thought I was Cameron Williams at 11 p.m. while I had an alcoholic beverage in my hand. But, hey, more power to him. Feeling good, feeling great.
We need that whole story. So what happened? So you were out last night with Trey.
Yeah, we're at the Marriott.
First mistake.
There it is.
Yeah, spending time with Trey, that's a bad start right there.
Yeah, and we're out just enjoying New Orleans. And I had a drink or two, and I had one in my hand, and a kid, couldn't have been more than 10, walks up to me at 11 p.m., which, hey, salute to your parents. Like, why isn't this kid asleep? But whatever, we're in New Orleans, everybody living up. And he asks me, are you Cam Williams, backup offensive tackle for the Texas Longhorns, which I'm honored. I'm glad somebody thinks I look like I still play, but hey, unfortunately I wasn't. He had a very deflated look on his face, and yeah.
You should have ran with it.
I should have.
Said yes, started signing autographs, taking pictures.
Oh, I would have charged them with NIL and what these guys are making nowadays. I would have charged that little 10-year-old.
Kid goes back to school after winter break, telling all his friends that he met Cam Williams, and then they're like, nope, that's not Cam Williams.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but hey, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm impressed he knew who a backup offensive lineman on the team was.
I know.
At that age.
Might need to be a part of Texas Sports Unfiltered.
There you go. Slightly racist by him to assume that you were Cam Williams, but hey, impressive that he knows who Cam Williams is. Rodney's here with us as well. Rodney, I know you've had a good time in New Orleans.
Man, it's been great, and you know, it's kind of the calm before the storm. You're getting set for the game tomorrow, and like Buck was talking about, I mean, it's been a little bit since we've seen these teams in action, but man, you got to be excited for the fan bases. That's been one of the coolest things walking around New Orleans the last couple of days. Is, you know, the exchange there with the Hook'em Horns and the back and forth with the Washington folks. Very classy fan base, it seems like. So it's been very cool with all of that happening, and I really do think that we're in for a stellar game tomorrow. I think this is going to be something really cool to see.
Yeah, a lot of purple here at Manning's right now. Washington fans are representing here in New Orleans. I will say this: purple is the ugliest color in the world. So I think it's disgusting seeing all of this color here, but you know, it's okay.
I like it.
None of them are reacting right now. So
yeah, I like it. They're a confident group.
They are.
They're a confident group.
They think they should be favored in this game. So as it stands right now, Texas is a 4-point favorite in this Sugar Bowl, which of course kicks off at 7:45 p.m. local time tomorrow night. But look, Washington fans, they're the higher seed. They haven't lost a game. Obviously, the Longhorns did lose during the regular season. Washington owns the longest active winning streak in college football. They've won 20 straight games going back to last year. Of course, these two teams played last postseason. Different setting, a lot of opt-outs for Texas, a game that didn't mean nearly as much as tomorrow night's game will mean for both sides, but Washington did win that game. So all of those reasons, it's why Washington fans are very, very confident in their team's chances tomorrow.
Oh, they probably think that Michael Penix should have won the Heisman over Daniels. I mean, he's had that type of season this year. The dude is an ultimate leader. You can just tell by the suit he had with all his teammates' name inside of it. Like, that's a guy that you want on your squad. And then that wide receiver core, we've been talking about it for the last 30 days. I mean, they're as good as anybody in the country with Polk, McMillan, and Roma Dunze, who's probably going to go in the first round. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting. And the Horns, they got their hands full tomorrow night.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Both quarterbacks playing really well, Rodney. Michael Penix Jr., obviously the Heisman runner-up this season, had a tremendous year, played really well in the Pac-12 championship game. Washington was damn near a 10-point underdog in the Pac-12 title game against Oregon. It felt like no one was giving UW a chance, but Michael Penix Jr. did what he's done a lot over the course of his college career, both at Indiana and at Washington. He put his team on his back, and they found a win there. That guy's a great player. But Quinn Ewers for Texas, it feels like he got healthy over the last two games, right? The Texas offense got in rhythm. They scored 57 against Texas Tech, then followed it up with 49 in the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma State. Feels like Quinn Ewers is rolling. You're talking about two Sunday quarterbacks tomorrow, two of the best in the country. It's going to be a fun one if you like offense.
And a tale of two quarterbacks that found different homes and have their respective teams in, on the cusp of a national championship, or at least a national championship game berth. So when you do talk about the two players, Penix, we saw it in person last year at the Alamo Bowl. Like you mentioned, obviously a much smaller scale contest there, but we know what he's capable of. And watching him, for the last year and a half, it's kind of one of those things where he put the stamp on the Texas fan base, and we've been following him. I've been following him very closely all year. But like you said, Quinn Ewers, to watch the resurgence from him and battling back from injury, the last couple of games there for Texas, he's just been superb. And you're seeing him. We talk about game managers all the time on this network. We're seeing him be a game manager and at the same time a big play quarterback as well. So very well-rounded right now with Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, Buck, your thoughts on this quarterback matchup? Michael Penix Jr. for Washington, very experienced. Quinn Ewers in his second year as the starter at the University of Texas. You've got a couple of gunslingers in this matchup.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of balls thrown tomorrow. There'll be that mid-range ball. Quinn Ewers can do both. Michael Penix is so skillful and really, really very accurate, and especially when it comes to the deep ball. He throws the prettiest ball. When it comes off that left-hander's hands, it looks fantastic. But he's so accurate, and he's able to deliver from so many different angles. That's what's fun to watch about him. He's a tall kid, big kid, but he's so strong. But he's so accurate. That scares you a little bit. But he also has got a wide receiver group that he's not afraid to just let it go. He'll throw the ball up he'll throw it up for grabs, and he'll say that my guys are just better than your guys.
Yep.
And most of the times, his guys are better than your guys. So he's not afraid to throw balls up for grab. He loves the 50-50 ball. He'll put it in the area where his guys can have an opportunity to get to it. And they made the most of their opportunities. But likewise for Texas, it's not that Quinn Ewers has thrown up a bunch of 50-50 balls. He's just been more accurate on the deep ball this year.
Yes.
He doesn't have to throw balls up that have been short. They've been, if anything, they've been long. But he's been really, really good at throwing the deep bomb. And it's nice to see him get his accuracy back. And it's also nice to see him 6 weeks removed from that AC joint injury, that he's going to be at full strength. He's going to be ready to play. You're indoors. The weather's going to be nice. It's going to be just fantastic for him, because I would say he won't be any healthier until next spring sometime, wherever he may be.
Right. That's a big question, obviously, for
Right.
after this season. And at some point during this broadcast, we're going to have to talk about Arch Manning, because we are broadcasting live from Manning. So
It's
it
only right.
feels
Yep.
fitting that at
That'll
some
definitely
point
come up.
we get into a little bit of a debate on who Texas's backup quarterback is, and maybe Arch Manning could play a big role in this matchup tomorrow night. But yeah, Buck, you talked about Michael Penix Jr. and those Washington receivers. Zay, I'll go back to you on this one. That's the biggest matchup, right? Like, you watch all of these national analysts trying to preview this game. They're all talking about Michael Penix Jr. and Washington's wide receivers going up against a Texas secondary that was not very good over the course of this season. The 85th ranked pass defense in all of college football. Anybody who's kept up with this Longhorn team knows that the weakness of that defense was the back end. And oh, by the way, Texas is shorthanded in its secondary, because Jalen Catalon is in the transfer portal. He won't be a part of the playoff. And then Derek Williams, one of the other safeties, a freshman who's had a tremendous debut year on the 40 acres. He's suspended, of course, for the first half of the game tomorrow because of that targeting penalty in the Big 12 championship game. So it's a shaky group, Zay, that is shorthanded, going up against, for my money, the best wide receiving trio in the nation. That feels like a big-time matchup tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm very curious to see what defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski draws up to stop these guys. I mean, as you said, BK, they're just so talented. They do whatever they want, it seems like, as Buck was saying. Like Michael Penix, he has the confidence when they're one-on-one to just throw it anywhere close, and those guys will probably go get it. So, yeah, are they going to use Mookie Taft more in different situations? Where's Jahdae Barron going to play? How healthy is Ryan Watts?
Yeah.
You know, that guy being a 6'3" corner, that's very rare. So him being healthy, that's going to be huge because we haven't seen that very often this season in 2023. So as dangerous as Michael Penix is, you got to get pressure to him. We know this defensive line, they're very hungry, starting with Trevondre Sweat, Outland Award winner for best interior defensive lineman in the nation, and Byron Murphy, he's going to be a dog tomorrow. So if they could get pressure on Michael Penix, that's going to be huge for the Longhorns' success.
Yes, it will, Rodney.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. Obviously, I say this, it's difficult to game plan anyway, but when you watch what Washington does with these wide receivers, I mean, when they line them out in the triangle thing that they do, I mean, it's the in-play adjusting. It really seems to where, and then they can drop a dude underneath, you know. So there's lots of different things right there that you have to coach these guys up to be ready for. And the thing is, I mean, obviously you don't know what's coming. So that really is going to be something fascinating to watch because Penix really doesn't have a problem finding those guys. So that matchup in and of itself is going to be in the in-game adjustment that we're talking about. Just that right there. How do you adjust to that, to what they're doing? It's just going to be really cool to watch.
Yeah, and Bugs, they brought it up, right? Pressure. That feels like the name of the game for Texas. The Longhorns have to find a way to get more pressure on Michael Penix Jr. than they did last year, right? I mean, in the game in San Antonio in 2022, the Longhorns had 0 sacks, they had 0 TFLs, and they also had 0 takeaways. It feels like if that happens again, the Longhorns are in a world of trouble.
Yeah, you can't play. This can't be a conservative game plan for Sark and Pete Kwiatkowski. This can't be conservative because you'll get burned up. If you play a conservative game tomorrow, you're not going to make it to the championship game the following week. You're going to end up losing the football game. So you've got to let it all flow. I mean, they've done everything that they've done the last 2 games when this football team was reaching their crescendo, when they were really playing their best football. They have to do that and just a little bit more against Washington because, I mean, Washington's got a pretty talented coaching staff themselves. They're pretty smart to what's going on. But the group from Washington is going to have to also worry about what's going on with the University of Texas. Texas has now found their way and found not only they're able to run the ball and throw the ball, but they're also finding their running backs coming out of the backfield now. Now they've become not only running backs, but wide receivers also. And Oklahoma State found that out the hard way. Gundy never made any adjustments to the backs coming out of the backfield. He let his linebackers try to cover running backs, and it didn't work for them. They got burnt. I can't believe Washington will go into this game and say, okay, our linebackers are good, and they can cover your running backs. I think we're going to see a lot of safeties for Washington in this football game trying to cover the backs out of the backfield for Texas.
Yeah, well, I'll follow up with you on that one, Buck. I mean, obviously a big moment of this Texas football season was the injury to Jonathan Brooks, who was having an All-American caliber season. He was in the conversation for the Doak Walker Award, which, of course, is given out to the nation's top running back every year. He tears his ACL late in the season, and a lot of Longhorn fans started panicking, right? What's this run game going to look like? And can Texas utilize that screen game that you were talking about without Jonathan Brooks? You know, they've got C.J. Baxter, who's a true freshman. They've got Jaden Blue, who's been here for a couple of years but doesn't have a lot of in-game experience. I don't want to say this run game hasn't missed a beat, but, man, if you look at the numbers, it's been just about as productive without Jonathan Brooks as it was with Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, as I said, BK, Washington can't spend their time on saying we got to stop Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy and Whittington and the tight end and, A.D. Mitchell. We've got to really be careful about this run game. We don't want to get in a situation where we're spending so much time worrying about Quinn Ewers throwing balls down the field. We've got to take care of the run game. They can't let Texas have their way, getting 4 or 5 yards a clip on first down. They're going to have to be careful down and distance too. The Huskies will in this football game. And so will Texas. I mean, the Huskies have a 1,000-yard rusher too, and I think people underestimate that kid at running back for the Huskies. He's a pretty good runner. He's pretty stout. He's not going to break off a bunch of long runs. But, boy, those 6 and 7, hard 6 and hard 7, boy, they hurt a lot.
Dylan Johnson scares me.
He does?
He really does.
Why?
He terrifies me.
You think he's better than Ollie Gordon?
I know, but you didn't have to worry about the Oklahoma State receiving core.
That's
I think
true.
everybody
That's-
focuses on those guys, which they should because they're the best in the nation. Then they forget about 1,000-yard rusher, Dylan Johnson. I mean, he was the player of the game in the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah.
He gutted Oregon, especially in that fourth quarter where they needed those yards and they needed those plays to keep the clock moving. And they just kept giving it to Dylan Johnson. The dude was hurt. He's tough as nails, too. Like
Yeah.
he talked about this week, how he needed this month just to get healthy. So the fact that he was beat up during that point of the game and they were confident, Kalen DeBoer was confident in giving him 28 carries, shows his toughness and shows just how good their offense is as a whole, not just the passing game for the Huskies.
Well, I hope they lean on that run game, Washington does, because then maybe they won't be so likely to throw that damn ball down the field, or they could just kill you in the passing game. Go ahead. You lean on that run game. I'll take Texas defense against Washington's run game all day long, but if Michael Penix Jr. has time to throw the ball, that's not going to be fun because Texas secondary is awful.
They're not that bad.
Dude, they're awful.
I mean, they're bad. Just say they're bad.
I mean,
maybe bad.
I'm not picking on individuals. I'm saying as a group, they're awful. It's just.
Don't you think they've turned a corner a little bit over the last two games?
They've turned the corner
a little bit. They've been better.
Okay, they've been better than what?
Well,
than what they were early on. I mean, they were bad against Oklahoma in the one game Texas lost. They were bad against Houston in a game that the Longhorns nearly lost. They had some troubles in the second half against TCU, but you look at Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State. Now, of course, none of those teams have Michael Penix Jr. None of those teams have Roma Dunze or Jalen Polk or Jalen McMillan. But it feels
none
like
of them are like the offensive line that Washington will bring tomorrow. I mean, that offensive line is the real deal.
Oh, don't change on me. It feels like the secondary has gotten better. You're trying to move the goalpost here.
A little bit. Okay.
Do you not think that they've gotten I'm not sitting here telling you it's DBU again in Austin, but feels like they've maybe figured something out in the last 3 games.
I just need them not to give up more than 2 balls behind them. That's all.
And
one,
that's
it's
what
going to happen. You're going to get one. You just got to hold them. You got to limit them to a long touchdown or a big play, but you can't have 6 or 7 of those in the football game. You're not going to win the game.
And that's what concerns me, Buck, is that they do appear to have gotten better, but they haven't seen Washington. You haven't seen anything like Washington just yet. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say they're awful. I may be saying that tomorrow at 11 p.m. I don't know, but I mean that's really the threat right there. And with Dylan Johnson, like you were mentioning, Zay, I mean, it's one of those things you never know what's going to happen on the outside. Like I said, it's so unpredictable what Penix and that staff is going to do with those wide receivers, and then boom, here comes Dylan Johnson. I mean, not that Dylan Johnson isn't a sufficient running back, but it makes it a hell of a lot easier when you got all that other stuff happening on the outside, and then boom, here comes this dude.
I'll say this about the secondary, BK. They do a fine job of fitting to guys after they catch the ball. We haven't had a lot of guys just break loose from guys since Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Guys aren't missing tackles, and then they go down the sideline, for 60 or whatever. I think they've done a good job of tackling. I think the entire team has tackled well throughout the season, with the exception of that one game. But I just don't see it. I just don't see if Michael Penix gets that kind of time, what he'll do. And I'm not always talking about the bombs down the field. I'm talking about the 15-yard, intermediate routes, those 12-yard routes. It's not just always Michael Penix stepping back and throwing long bombs with guys over the top. It's those ones that just are killers. You give up a bunch of those, and it starts to wear on you. Now, they can catch it at 6 yards. I expect this team to rally to the ball and tackle. I think the secondary tackles really well. Yeah. I think they've done that really well throughout the season, with the exception of one game. And this is both these teams right now. You're at the point anyway of, I mean, every team that's been in this deal right now, with the exception of Washington, I mean, this has been playoff type of atmosphere for all of these teams. It's just win any way you can now. This is what it's all about. If your secondary gives up 300 yards of passing, then your defensive line better give up 27. And if you win, you win. We can still talk about the secondary, but as a team, they've won the game. So it's all about winning, and both teams have found ways to win games now.
Yeah.
Texas had to go with their backup quarterback for 2 games. Now, he wasn't all that good, but he was good enough that the rest of the team rallied around him, and they won the football game.
Sure.
So, it's about winning. Washington hadn't played their best football at the end of the season. They've struggled, but guess what? They found a way to win football games, and now look where they are. They're undefeated.
Yeah, and Washington in the Pac-12 championship game, played a game that felt like a playoff game, right?
Yes.
Like if Washington lost to Oregon, they'd be playing against Liberty in whatever bowl game is tomorrow morning.
Yeah, they would be.
Right? They wouldn't be in the college football playoff right now, despite them going undefeated during the regular season.
You mean Florida State would?
Yeah,
Florida
maybe.
State would be in the playoff, right?
Maybe. Thank God they weren't. What a showing!
After that yesterday.
What a showing by them against Georgia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
way to
so
go.
deserving.
Go show the people.
Don't even get on the bus.
I had Florida State plus 61, so I was very
There it is,
satisfied
right
with that result
Jeez,
yesterday.
man, what a mess.
But yeah, look, like Washington, they've got the benefit of they basically played a playoff type of game, neutral site against a playoff caliber team. Texas played a neutral site game, but they played Oklahoma State. Like Oklahoma State, not very good this season, and the Longhorns obviously took care of business. Now you can't control who you play. If Oklahoma didn't decide to lose to Oklahoma State, then Texas would have had the chance to play Oklahoma. But this Washington team is battle tested. Not to say that Texas isn't. Texas went on the road in week 2 and beat Alabama by double digits in their house, something that doesn't happen often. But Pac-12 was good this year. Washington's played a tough schedule, and they're coming off a very impressive win against a quality Oregon team. This team's got a ton of experience, too. I think they've got like 10 six-year seniors on their team. It almost feels illegal. It feels like an NFL roster that Texas is going up against. But this is an experienced bunch, Rodney, that the Longhorns are going to have to deal with.
I mean, it is. I mean, it really is. And just to know that part, and something that I'm very curious to see tomorrow is it's a lot of time off. That is a lot of time off. And I've talked about it to where in both it's a good thing. You get guys healed up a little bit. All of that happens. So that starts happening. But then at the same time, you know, how do you fire out? Do you come out quick enough? I mean, that's what I'm curious to know when it comes to how this game is going to play out tomorrow. So, but experience. There's just a lot of experience on this Washington team, Zay. And the thing is, Texas is familiar with this bunch already. So, but now, like we talked about earlier, man, this thing is amped up big time now, man. This is huge. It's the biggest game for a lot of these kids, man, that they'll ever be in.
Yeah, and everybody has NFL aspirations. I mean, when you come to these big-time programs and you get to this point, you got some serious film like NFL GMs and scouts. Everybody's going to be watching this game. So what you doing as an individual could basically, you know, make a path for your rest of your career if you want to go pro. So yeah, man, there's a lot of big time players in this game, and big time players make big time plays at big time games. We all know that saying. But yeah, this Joe Moore winning offensive line for Washington.
That matchup tomorrow with the Texas front.
It's going to be incredible.
Gonna be huge.
It's going to be incredible. And what Bo Davis and Pete Kwiatkowski do, whether it's just stunt and twist, are they going to put Anthony Hill as an edge rusher more? You know, Ethan Burke, he needed this time to get back healthy because he's been dealing with certain injuries throughout the season. Barron Sorrell, the edge rushers have to be huge. We know Byron Murphy and Trevondre Sweat. We know what they bring. And Vernon Broughton and Trill Carter and Alfred Collins, you got to throw those guys in as well. But the edge rushers getting their hands up, if they're not getting to the quarterback to get batted balls, that's going to be huge if the Longhorns defense want to slow down this very high-profile offense for Washington.
Yeah, and I think both teams are in the same situation. Both teams have won championships. They're the Pac-12 champion. They got rings coming to them. Texas, the Big 12 championships, they have a championship ring coming to them. And when BK and I talked earlier this week, it was about who will be committed in this football game. It really is. I mean, when you get away from playing the game of football for a month and you're not around and all of a sudden they ask you to put the pads back on, they'll work into it slowly. But the real commitment is on Monday when you've got to go and here comes that guy loose down the middle. Are you willing after 4 weeks to stick your face really in there? This is not tag. This is not practice where they blow you a quick whistle and they say, okay, let's not have that kind of contact. When the contact starts tomorrow, the committed ones will be the ones that are ready to go. And they can say they're committed, but until you stick that face in there, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry about that.
It's a family restaurant.
It's a family restaurant. I'm sorry.
But
until you stick your face in there and make that tackle, how committed will you be? And you'll find out. There'll be a couple guys that truly won't be committed tomorrow. Their minds will say yes, but their bodies are going to go, maybe not all the way. Maybe not 100%.
So get those guys out the game immediately.
That's right.
Well, you're going to see them. You'll see them.
So how does the staff? How do they manage this time off? That's a lot of days off. I mean, how much contact do you have during this off time? Because you got it exactly what you're saying right there. When you've had all this time off and you're not hitting your own dudes.
Well, I'll say this: Texas staff has more guys that are experienced in this type of play, in playoff type of football, than Washington does. You know, the Huskies don't have a bunch of guys on their staff that have gone and played in playoff type of type of games. But Sark, being with Alabama and all the guys that he brought from Alabama with him, they've been in this kind of playoff mode. So they know how much hitting you have to do, how much rest your team has to do, how the injuries were before the end of the season and everything. I mean, there's guys that, you say a month is nice, but that's all they're going to get. But there are guys that need more time than just a month to heal up from what has gone on during the season. So the guys, to me, the guys mentally who will be committed to doing, like for me, Texas defensive line will be committed. They have that deal. They have that chip on their shoulder where they know, and they know everybody in the nation knows how good they are. And so they're not going to be non-committal in this game. They're going to be ready for whatever comes at them.
Yeah.
And playing against the best offensive line in the country.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better than that right there.
Some of these guys are playing for money.
Yeah, and some of them will be playing for real live NIL money tomorrow.
No, forget NIL money. We're talking NFL money.
Yeah.
So you've got a bunch of guys on both sides who are going to hear their names called in April's NFL draft. You've got a lot of guys who could be first-round picks, and T'Vondre Sweat is one of those guys.
Sure.
Like T'Vondre Sweat could be a first-round pick if he balls out. I mean, if Texas wins the national championship, and T'Vondre Sweat has 2 massive games for the Longhorns, not only does he get to end his Texas career with a national title, he also probably becomes a first-round pick and gets to make a hell of a lot more money than he would make if he was a second or a third round.
Yeah, and Quinn Ewers gets an opportunity to show
too.
that, you know what, my shoulder is okay, and maybe I am ready to move on. I mean, if he has 2 games and he decides, my shoulder feels great, I can move on, and if he's throwing 300-yard games, that's a big deal for him. That puts this University of Texas football team in a different. Now we got to get ready for Arch Manning the following year. There's a lot going on tomorrow. There really is.
Well, in this Texas team, I think they've handled the season. Everything. You talked about the backup quarterback situation. You talk about Jonathan Brooks going down. You talk about a leaky secondary. You talk about all of the different things, just that in and of itself. But I think Texas has done a really good job to where they've managed themselves. We've talked about bulletin board material and the different things, whether it be with Yormar or whoever it's been. But I think as we go into this Washington game, we've had some Washington guys, kind of a little chatter, maybe Penix, some of the other different individuals talking right there. But now at the same time, I think there's going to be a chip on this shoulder of the Texas defensive front with this award-winning Washington offensive line. I think that's just something else that this Texas staff is like, okay, here you go. Prove yourself once again. Here's something else for you to go out and show everybody how damn good you are.
Well, you have to prove it. You don't make it to the next game. There's
no other way.
Yeah, if you don't prove it, you don't move on. You don't move on to the championship play the following week. And I just think for Texas, they, especially on the defensive front, they've been so stout all year round. I don't expect them to all of a sudden take a step back tomorrow. I can't see it.
They're as confident as a defensive line as anybody I know. You see Byron Murphy tweeting. You see, T'Vondre Sweat. He's talking in the media about the offensive line for Washington, about, hey, it's just another game. They're chirping on both sides, and that just shows the confidence that both teams have coming into this game, and that's what you want to see. If I'm T'Vondre Sweat, he's going to be taking so many double teams, just have so many eyes on him. So it's up to the linebackers and the other guys. David Benda, he has to be big. The 5th-year senior. Jalen Ford, we know how good he's been these last few years. Should have been Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12 in 2022. But that dude's an absolute stud. And obviously, Anthony Hill, you can move him anywhere. So everybody here has to be in line. Everybody has to be locked in because, again, we're going to be talking about it for the next few days like we have been the last month. Washington's offense, Texas hasn't seen anything like that before.
Well, and you mentioned Sorrell and Burke, and that's why I think that, that's going to be a lot of the emphasis right there is the guys on the edge. The guys on the outside. You know what you got right up the middle. So, I think a lot of the they're going to key on the outside and try to stretch stuff to the outside. So that's where those guys are going to be imperative to try to stop that stuff. So that's the matchup. I want to see the guys over on the outside, what they're doing right there as well tomorrow.
BK, when you talk about the teams and reaching this point of the season and the high point of the season and the way the teams are playing, you can't leave out both of these football coaches, the head coaches, and what they've done for their programs. For Sark, I think he is now in his groove now. We've been waiting. When is he going to hit that stride? We saw him at Alabama when he was starting to dial up plays and guys are wide open and him taking advantage of what the defense gives him. I think we're seeing a head coach at the University of Texas now at his spot right now. This is the last 2 games of the season. He couldn't have gotten any better than that. He couldn't have called better games than that.
Alabama's coach, their coach. Didn't we hear that today?
Yeah, we
That's our
did hear that
coach.
today.
That's our coach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at breakfast
It's our
this
coach.
morning, and we saw some Alabama fan, and he's like talking about our coach.
Yeah, well,
When
took
talking
our
about
coach.
Steve
Y'all
Sarkisian,
got
it's
our
like,
coach.
no, he's our coach. If you want to trade Sark for Saban, hold on. I think maybe I would actually do that. But you can't have them both, Alabama, right?
Right.
You did have them
Right.
both, and you won a national championship in 2020. But let us have Sark for a while,
We
please.
Yeah,
swung
and
and missed
Nick
on one,
Saban's-
but we got the other.
Yeah,
Nick Saban's not going anywhere for the next couple of years, but Sark will be in line for that gig. And as I said before, I worry about somebody trying to come and poach this guy for the NFL and offer him some crazy contracts. Crazy contracts come out of the NFL these days
oh yeah,
for head coaches. And, I mean, he's a quarterback guy. That's what's so important in the NFL and any other part of football is the quarterback. And they're liable to try to drop a bucket of money on him. I don't know. Maybe. But although Texas is not going to not drop a bucket of money, he's about to get a bucket
Yeah,
of money.
Texas got it.
So they got. You're absolutely right. They've got it. But for him, the way he's coached now, to find certain things in his offensive game plan have been fantastic, and he's done a great job of managing games as the football coach too. I mean, it's not always the defensive coordinator saying, "Hey, I need a timeout." It's the offensive coach who can say, "Dude, you guys need to settle down, take a timeout." I know we don't like to give them up on offense, but I'll tell you, he's been fantastic just managing as a head coach. This whole thing with him taking a little step back and, with some of the guys that he's brought in, Gary Patterson, people like that, I think he's kind of calmed down to the fact that I can do a little bit of both. I can be the head coach of Texas. I can manage all the things outside of being the head coach and still do a great job because like I said, I haven't seen two games the way he's called the last two games the way he had. He's taken advantage of. He's found the counterplay for his running backs. He's got a young group of running backs who, when Bijan Robinson was there, they ran a lot of zone plays where he had one-way goes. And if somebody was in the hole, he could make you miss. He's running this counterplay with these young backs saying, I'm going to give you a two-way go. Two simple reads. Kick out, go underneath. Pin down, go outside. I mean, that's just good coaching. Finding out what's good for his team.
Yeah.
And using his running backs now as wide receivers, guys who we didn't know could catch the ball. We were worried. We were worried about, Jonathan Brooks coming out of the backfield. Oh, he doesn't catch that well. And he started to get into it. But now these other guys, I mean, the freshmen's getting into it, the sophomores getting into it, where you're not afraid to throw to those guys out of the backfield against anybody. And like I said, Washington's going to have to use safeties because their linebackers are not going to be able to cover these kids.
Yeah, well, it feels like Steve Sarkisian realized he needed to be a little bit more creative as a play caller once Jonathan Brooks went down. Right. Like, it was so easy for him to just say, oh, we need a couple of yards. Let's just hand it to Jay Brooks, and he's going to find a way to pick up those yards for us. But almost felt like because Brooks went down with an injury, he was the most consistent player Texas had offensively all season long. Mm-hmm. Sark realized that, all right, I got to do more. I got to be a better play caller. I got to scheme up better plays. I got to be better in game planning. I got to be better on game day. And it feels like he really has been in his bag over the last couple of games. And that's why, Zay, you've seen this Texas offense go for 106 points in the last two games. Now, you've seen some special teams, touchdowns, and a defensive score in there too. But it does feel like everything is kind of clicked for this offense. And I think Steve Sarkisian is a huge part of that.
Yeah, you got to give Sark his credit. I mean, these first 2 years, they were tough. 8-5, that might be the standard for some other places, but that's not the standard at Texas. And you always just question, did he have too much on his plate? Did he have, enough responsibility as a head coach and a play caller to mix the two? And this year he kind of figured it out. And I got to give him another kudo for, hey, you got A.J. Milwee, the quarterback coach. He comes from the booth in 2022 where you struggle a little bit. Now he's on the field. So you just have more eyes out there, and you could talk to your quarterbacks when they come back and start to worry about head coaching responsibilities. So his ability to just kind of manage the game and get used to that, I think that's been huge for not only his success, but everybody else around him. Like, you got to have confidence in your assistant coaches and allow them to be them. That's why you brought him on in the first place. And I think he's done that as good as anybody in the nation this year. And we're seeing that with Texas being in the college football playoff.
Zay just hit on something right there I want to talk about. I think that's something that's been pretty massive this year as well, is that now you have some stability in the program. I mean, for so long, it was like you were changing coordinators. I mean, it seemed like every time you turned around, you're changing coordinators. And now you have players that have been in the program for a longer amount of time, and they're still being coached by the same position coaches. Yep. Man, that's huge. Consistency. Mm-hmm. You got to have that, man, because if it's like, you walk out, you're gone for the summer, and you come back, and it's like, oh, well, you've got a brand new offensive coordinator. You've got to learn a brand new system. They've been allowed to refine their systems, not rework their systems. And that just goes to the consistency of the program. And it's painfully obvious how great that has worked for the program this year.
Yep, absolutely. That's well said. Yeah, a lot of the recent coaches at the University of Texas had to make consistent changes to their coaching staff. It felt like every year, right? Tom Herman was shuffling his staff every year.
Time.
Charlie Strong was shuffling his staff every year. Mac Brown, towards the end of his tenure in Austin, was playing musical chairs with his coaching staff too. You've seen very few changes. I mean, Steve Sarkisian changed his wide receiver coach after year one, going from Andre Coleman to Chris Jackson. That's been a major, major upgrade. But outside of that, you might have to see a few more. Obviously, Jeff Choate just left to take a head coaching job somewhere else. So you're going to get some coaching turnover from this staff. But it's been nice seeing Texas fans not complain about every assistant coach, right?
I think what you have to worry about now with this coaching staff is that other schools are going to come poaching on your guys. I mean, that's what you have to worry about now. Now it's not, well, we're going to have to get rid of this dude because his system sucks. So it's very much a 360 what we're watching right there. And the thing about it is, I mean, look around the country. There are a lot of coaches that were released in their tenure here at Texas. They're still getting fired in other places.
Sure.
So that's what he did. He cleaned house. He got the right people in place. And, man, I'm damn glad he did because this program is clicking right now.
Trey Elling is here. Hello, Trey.
Hey guys, good news. I can finally take fluids down
Look
again.
at that.
3 hours ago.
There it is.
Wow. Mazel tov. You had a rough morning.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a rough morning, but it was a fun night with Zay, my buddy Jack as well. Had an okay meal. Then went and got some drinks after that. Went by the Marriott where a large contingent of UT people are once again. That was a lot of fun. Dropped by there a couple of times. And then made the walk down Bourbon Street, which hopefully I'm not having to do again tonight.
Not having to do?
No, I'd rather go to Frenchman Street tonight. Bourbon Street just isn't for me.
That's where I'm going. You can come hang out with him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You weren't saying that last
veteran.
night.
The veteran.
Well, for me, last night he was all about it. Now things have changed, huh?
I just wanted to
Funny how things change.
I just wanted to walk down and get a hand grenade from Tropical Isle for old time's sake, because that's what my buddies and I used to do. Go down there first and then post up at the longest open bar on Bourbon Street. The one bar that stayed open through Katrina. It's closed now, unfortunately. Johnny White's is the name. It's a great dive bar on Bourbon. That doesn't exist anymore. It's just too many people, Zay. It's too many people. You've got cops running through the crowd on horses. It is a chaotic scene that's I just feel like there's a good chance of a lot of bad happening there, you know?
So you had one hand grenade last night and you were stuck in bed till like 11:30?
It wasn't just that. It was a bunch of different sweet drinks. There was some beers, started drinking it actually before dinner because we had to wait for a table to open up.
Were you mixing alcohols?
Oh, yeah.
Smart move.
It was
Yes.
a total rookie move.
That always works.
No question. I may have been puffing on a vape pen here and there throughout the night as well. So, yeah, it was a combination that's led to me not being able to hold anything down this morning. I might have gotten away with it if I had taken the hangover stuff that you guys brought with, the powder that you put in water and drink before you go to bed.
Oh, the IV thing.
That was,
that stuff really does work.
That does work.
Apparently, though, I guess as a disclaimer for that stuff, if you try and drink it the morning of, after you already have the hangover, it may lead to you projectile vomiting for like 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not even kidding.
People are eating in here.
I hope you guys enjoy your lunch.
Y'all enjoy your
I'm just trying to paint the
great
proper
food right
picture
there,
here,
friends.
okay?
That's not the powder that I had in my room last night. Did you not get a hold of that?
What was that? Baby powder?
Yes, that was it. That's what I found on New Orleans for $10 last
That's what it
night
was.
on Bourbon
You're
Street.
just trying to make sure things stay fresh down there? What's going on?
Yes, that's exactly what
Okay.
I'm doing
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Glad you're here.
Yeah.
Glad you're okay.
He's
And
ready. I bet you're going back tonight.
Yeah,
I
you
bet
have
he's
to.
gonna
It's
go
New
back.
Year's Eve.
Yeah, he's going to make it
What
back.
about tomorrow night? If Texas wins, you're saying you're not going to go out after the game?
I'm okay drinking a lot less these next 2 nights. I did it the first night.
Oh.
If I will end up drinking a little bit, but it's not going to get to that level again.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
I
As a
think.
witness, he needs to pay some stuff.
Well, I think earlier he said he wasn't going to drink, so he's kind of already feeling better.
Yeah,
He's
it's
feeling better.
It's starting to
The
snowball
palate's
downhill.
coming back. Yeah.
Oh man! All right, Trey. So we've heard from Rodney, we've heard from Zay, we've heard from me. But your thoughts were a day away from kickoff. It's finally upon us. It's been like the longest month of my life since the Big 12 championship game happened, waiting to get here and kick off about 28 hours, maybe 29 hours from now at the Superdome, just a couple of blocks away. Your confidence level, how you feeling about this game? You've obviously done your research. You've watched tape of Texas. You've watched some Washington games as well. Where are you leaning right now, and how you feeling from a Longhorn perspective?
I'm still feeling optimistic while also knowing we are going to get a really good shot from Washington. It's been talked about all week for several weeks now, guys. Both rosters loaded with NFL talent, really good coaching on the sidelines too. And Washington has an attitude about them that is a bit embrace the hate, because they have been slighted. I mean, they talked about it at a press conference earlier this week, and I think it's something that you have to pay attention to. This is a veteran team. They're obviously very explosive on offense, and what they do well on offense is a perceived weakness of this Texas defense. But I also think Texas is the most complete team in the college football playoff, also well coached. I love how they prepared for this game just based on the insider reports that we're getting. So, yeah, I think Texas wins, but I would probably lean to putting the money on Washington with that line.
Okay. Yeah, you said it after the Alabama win back in week 2 that you felt like this Texas team had the chops to win a national championship. And I thought you were crazy. I think a lot of Longhorn fans, despite how impressive that victory in Tuscaloosa was, thought you were pretty insane as well. But feels like Texas has a good shot. You used the word complete. Does feel like a pretty complete football team right now.
Especially when you take into account, 2.5 games worth of content, the most recent 2.5 games. Ewers has gotten healthier. We've seen all 3 facets do their job to lead to authoritative wins.
Yeah, Trey mentioning Ewers getting more healthy. I want to see him bring his legs back.
Yeah.
Like, Texas was really rolling when Quinn Ewers was taking off for those plus 20-yard, 30-yard touchdowns that we saw in Baylor and against Kansas. Against U of H, he had that dumb move where he got injured, lowering his shoulder, and he took a couple of shots that game. He has to be smarter. Yep. I mean, as much as we love Arch Manning, especially in this place, sorry, I ain't trying to see him tomorrow night.
Don't need him.
I ain't trying to see him tomorrow night.
Don't get us kicked out here.
I'm sorry.
We're at Manning.
He'll have his time.
They got cameras everywhere.
I respect
If
that.
they don't kick you out now, they're coming after you after the show.
The youngster will have his moment.
Archie was here a while ago.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he's gone right now.
Yeah,
Hey,
not good.
And Archie will tell you, the youngster will have his moment. But tomorrow night, hope it's not then.
Oh, I hope it is tomorrow. I hope Texas is up 30 points and Arch Manning gets to play in the fourth quarter.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. If you give him those just, tough minutes at the end of the game because Texas is blasting Washington, I'll take that. But Quinn Ewers, he has to be smart about taking care of his body. If he wants to run, slide. If he wants to run, get out of bounds.
Yep.
You cannot take no shots because you're trying to prove a point that you're tough and get your teammate hype and excited.
Yeah, he was reckless early in the season, right? Even before he got hurt. He was lowering his shoulder, trying to pick up extra yards.
Yeah, you're not Tim Tebow.
Right. He'd be like 4 yards short of the first down, and he'd lower his shoulder thinking he was big enough to get all 4 of those yards. It's like, dude, you cut Chick-fil-A out of your diet. You ain't picking up those 4. That salmon isn't going to get you there. But so you're right. I mean, look, I'd say the same thing if Malik Murphy was the backup. Obviously, he's got more experience than Arch Manning does. But, yeah, if you're Quinn Ewers, you got to be smart. You can't take unnecessary shots because your team needs you. Your team needs you. You were able to get by BYU. You were able to get by Kansas State with the backup quarterback. You're not going to be able to get by a team as talented as Washington if you don't have QB1 on the field for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, I prefer that he does not run, that there not be a need to run. I mean, just drop them bombs. Jaden Blue is going to be big tomorrow, guys. I know that C.J. Baxter is kind of the thought for a lot of people that it's going to be him, but I mean, just the brilliance of this running back room, how we've seen back-to-back 100-yard performances post Brooks. That I think just tells you that. But it's something there's something that has been biting at me all week that it's going to be a Jaden Blue breakout game here. That he's going to be the one that's going to put his stamp on this thing. And Ewers can just handle himself. Get ready for next week. I mean, stay upright. Don't do anything. And that's the bad part because we can say hopefully they're teaching him to slide and hopefully to do all these different things. But man, when you get in the heat of the battle right there, if you're a guy like Quinn Ewers, you want to lower that shoulder. That's hard to unteach. Yeah, that's real hard to unteach.
Yeah, sports bar like this, when people start cheering, I have no idea who they're rooting for.
Yeah,
the Saints are on behind us. I feel like the majority of this bar are Saints fans, but I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
And they're putting it on Tampa Bay right there. How about that?
Yeah, they are.
There's your battle for the 20-7, I guess.
Battle to see who gets to lose to the Cowboys in the first round of the playoffs.
Ooh,
I think that's what that matchup is all
after that
about.
big Cowboy win last night.
No controversy there at all. Clean game.
Clean, easy win for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, refs did absolutely nothing wrong.
They need to get fined.
No way. They did a great job.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Refs always screw the Cowboys, don't they, guys? I hear
Always.
that all the time.
I'm glad Brad Allen got my Venmo yesterday before the game. I'm glad that came through. It was nice of him to hook us up last night. All right, we'll get back into this game in a little bit, but we have to give some shout-outs to some of our great travel partners who are allowing us to be in New Orleans, and we're looking at one of them right now. Our guy Perry from Goodstock is here with us in the Big Easy.
Oh, man.
The sweet taste of a Sugar Bowl victory. can taste even sweeter with Goodstock by Nolan Ryan. If you're in New Orleans cheering on the Horns, or if you're back in Austin watching the game at home, make sure your true MVP is what's on your grill. Goodstock is our favorite butcher shop. It's right by the Dell Diamond up there in Round Rock off of 79. They've got these new bacon-wrapped jalapeno poppers, chicken drumsticks, stuffed chicken breast as well, along with the classics, the steaks, the burgers, the brisket, all phenomenal. And hey, you've got a couple of days left. If you stop by their butcher shop in Round Rock, you can get 15% off your purchase. All you have to do is go to the counter, place your order, and say Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you, and they are going to get you 15% off. And hey, if you can't make it to Round Rock, you can buy everything online at goodstocktx.com. And if you type in that promo code Longhorn15, Longhorn15, you type that in at checkout, and you are going to get 15% off your order. That goes through January 2nd. So you've got a couple of more days to take advantage of that phenomenal deal. The best meat that you can find all across Central Texas. I had some of those burgers for dinner a couple of weeks ago. Ridiculously good. The preseason burgers, fantastic. They've got the steaks, the brisket, seriously, everything you need. It's either online at goodstocktx.com or right up there off of 79 at the Goodstock by Nolan Ryan Butcher Shop. Many thanks to them for being one of our great travel partners. Trey, you want to give some love to one of our other travel partners right now?
Absolutely. My guy, Brian Hummel Realtor. It's been weird to be here in Central Texas. I guess we're in New Orleans right now. To be in Central Texas for the last year because home prices and that market has actually really cooled off significantly. But guess what? It is looking like things are starting to turn now with various percentages and whatnot going downward. And whether you are looking for your dream home in Austin, or maybe you are curious how much your home is worth, you should look no further than Brian Hummel, your trusted Austin realtor with Realty One Group Prosper. Brian is more than just a realtor. He's a full-service expert overseeing your entire transaction from start to finish. He'll lead you through each step of the buying or selling process with questions answered and details explained in plain English. Over 2 decades in Austin, Brian has witnessed the dynamic growth and evolution of the Central Texas market, making him your invaluable resource for buying, selling, and investing. And as a certified real estate negotiator, Brian brings a strategic and skillful approach to bargaining. He secures the best deals, whether it's getting the highest price for a seller or the most favorable terms for a buyer. When you choose Brian Hummel as your realtor, you're not just hiring a real estate expert, you're gaining a trusted partner committed to your success. Contact Brian today, 512-619-1347, 619-1347, or log on to his website, hummelrealtor.com. That's HUMMEL Realtor.com. Brian Hummel, Realty One, the one you need.
We got a lot of Cowboys fans here because everyone's cheering for the Arizona Cardinals right now, who are taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. If my ESPN app is right, Arizona is down by 3. 31-28 to score with less than 90 seconds to go in regulation. But the Cardinals have a first and goal from the 5-yard line.
Wow.
So the Dallas Cowboys, they need some help. If the Cowboys win next week in Washington and the Eagles lose one of these final 2 games, either to Arizona today or to the New York Football Giants next weekend, then the Cowboys will be NFC East champs and get some home field throughout the playoffs.
They need that home field, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Because they've won 16 in a row at AT&T Stadium. None of them with any controversy. We've already established that.
Clean.
But there's your NFL update. I figured out why people are starting to cheer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome right there. Boy, Arizona, man, they could just crush the NFC East right here if they're able to beat Philadelphia, and they just
He's
scored.
in.
They
He's
just
in there.
scored?
Touchdown.
How about
at
that?
James Carter.
There
Wow.
go the Cardinals. Look at that.
What does Arizona have 3 wins this year?
Hey,
And
one
they're going to
against
have
Dallas.
2, one against Dallas and one against Philadelphia. Like,
Crazy.
what a year for them.
if they had Kyler Murray, as much as I dislike him because he's an Oklahoma Sooner, if they had him for a majority of the year, then they'd be mixing it up. And
Yeah,
I wouldn't say they'd be a playoff team.
They'd have
but
about 2 more wins.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
That's about
they'd
it.
be, yeah, they'd be more competitive.
More
that's all I'm
crying
saying.
on midfield after a game, after a loss, for sure, because Kyler Murray is a big fan of doing that. But I don't know if they'd have too many more wins.
They're taking a look at this one again. So
Looks good to me.
Yeah, I thought he was in.
Yeah.
All the way, definitely in.
They
No
need to
questions
just
on that.
ask
Right?
my opinion. All right, before we get back to the game, Rodney, what about some love for one of your old high school football teammates?
Man, speaking of clean, my man Jose Moore Clean LLC. These folks also based out of Round Rock. That's the whole thing. That's a good thing for me. All of these great folks are out of my hood over there, over in Round Rock. Central Texas' premier street sweeping, construction sweeping, and erosion control company, Jose and his group. They will get you all cleaned up. And the good thing about I think Jose's on the road right now with his family. So he's probably checking it out on the free Horn app here at the moment, and the territory that More Clean covers. For the folks here in Louisiana that may not be familiar with Texas, it is massive, way up north, Waco, all the way down south to San Antonio, headquartered right there in Round Rock. Check out the website at morecleantexas.com or call them at 512-775-1918. If you have any street sweeping or pressure washing for your home or place of business, you have a patio that's looking bad, you have an outdoor deck that has all that green stuff on it from all the pollen and stuff in the air, these guys will get you hooked up.
Yep.
These folks are also huge in the community. They do a lot supporting marching bands, football teams, basketball teams, theater, all different extracurricular activities. They do truly cool stuff. He was a Lockhart Lion, just like I. We played together many, many years back in the Lockhart High School days. It is Jose Moore and morecleantexas.com.
There we go. All right. Shout out to all of our great travel partners who are allowing us to broadcast live from New Orleans. And we will be back here tomorrow, just outside of where we are right now, in that gazebo on the promenade right outside of Manning. So if you're making your way to the Big Easy today or tonight or tomorrow morning, our pregame show from 2 to 6 will be there tomorrow. Should be a hell of a lot of fun. You can get in contact with us. Hit us up on the Coda text line 512-222-9328 or the YouTube comment line as well. We've got a couple of Washington fans stirring the pot right now in our YouTube comment line. William says, Texas fans don't respect Washington and don't know Washington. That can be hard on your wallets. Trey, look, I think Texas fans are confident. I think Longhorn fans have a lot of right to be confident with what we've seen from this team all year. But I feel like at least the three of us sitting here right now have a lot of respect for what Washington has done over the last couple of seasons.
This is getting into a weird Russian nesting dolls of respect or no respect. But I feel like they aren't respecting how much we respect them now, guys.
Assholes.
No, but look, I love them embracing the hate like Texas is. One of the reasons why I think it's going to be such a great game on Monday night, and I'm looking forward to watching games from both of these teams. And I think in the end, I think Texas does have a little bit more in terms of playmakers on offense is probably similar between the two teams, but defensively, I like Texas personnel more than I do Washington's right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you one guy I respect the hell out of. That's Kalen DeBoer, the head coach at Washington. One of the best offensive minds in the sport. Really, you'll have two of the best offensive minds in college football on opposite sidelines tomorrow. I think everyone's known for a while what Steve Sarkisian is as an offensive play caller. For Nick Saban to bring him on as the OC, he wanted to hire him a couple of different times. And for Nick Saban to bring him on, obviously Steve Sarkisian was the offensive coordinator and play caller on Alabama's national championship winning team in 2020. I think everyone knows about Sark and the offensive mastermind that he is, but probably not enough people. I think Texas fans realize it now, studying up on this Washington team over the last month or so. But I don't know if enough people, Rodney, around the country know about Kalen DeBoer and just how sharp he is as an offensive coach in this sport.
Dude has won a lot of football games, maybe not at the top level, but this guy is a football mind. And we talked about it at the first roundtable that we had back in Austin on Thursday. I think one of the most fascinating parts of this game for me is going to watch the chess match back and forth between Sarkisian and DeBoer. I mean, because they're going to have to make so many. We talked about the Washington offense and what they're going to be doing. It's going to be constant adjustments happening. And I think with the creativity, Trey, of Steve Sarkisian, that's going to put the same thing back onto DeBoer as well, to where he's not going to know what's coming. And he's going to have to react, because momentum is going to be going back and forth, I think, tomorrow evening at maximum, just back and forth with how fast this game is going to be. And it's going to be up to those two dudes to keep their teams with what's happening, because it is going to change so fast.
Yeah, another aspect of this game that makes for a fascinating storyline, and both guys very similar temperament-wise too, which I think is interesting and very telling for why they've been able to have the successes that they have so early on in their careers.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer, obviously a part of his first college football playoff, but has won 3 national championships in his coaching career. Now, it's at the NAIA level, so a little bit different, but hey, championships are championships. You got to be a damn good coach to lead a team at any level to a national championship, and DeBoer was able to do it 3 times at Sioux Falls.
Like an NIT.
Yeah.
NITs, buddy.
Oh, God.
NITs.
Don't do that. We're having a good time right now. Don't bring up the NIT, please.
Well,
We're
I have
okay
been
with that.
partaking in that
Eagles lost.
wonderful tradition since I've crossed the Texas state line into Louisiana.
What's that?
That is having a urinal but pissing all over the floor. I think that must be a tradition of Husky fans. I mean, maybe that's
We're
what
blaming
they,
Washington
what it
fans.
is.
Yeah, well, yeah, I thought it was a Louisiana tradition, but now I think you know what it is. Maybe a Husky deal.
Just
You
you're seeing urine on the floor in bathrooms.
Yeah.
Have you participated in that yet since you've crossed
It's been a lot.
I think-
Texas state line?
Yeah, I think we went to a gas station just across the
No.
border yesterday, and you're right. There was a lot of piss on the floor.
That must be I thought it was a Louisiana thing. I'm thinking it's more probably a Washington Husky thing.
So the Husky fans aren't potty trained, or
Maybe that's what it is.
That's
Ah.
what it is. They're not
Ah.
potty trained or
Interesting.
house trained. House trained.
I've heard
Yeah.
all sorts of trash talk over the last few weeks. I have not heard that before. That Washington fans are not potty
what
trained.
it is.
Yeah.
Just
That is
pissing all over
The oldest guy we have is using the most immature trash talk
Sorry.
that exists.
Sorry about that.
That's interesting, right there.
There are a surprising number of Washington people walking around with husky dogs. Like they actually have huskies as their pets.
Yeah, I've got a Longhorn at home.
Oh, do you? Why have I not met this Longhorn
Yeah,
before? What
It's
is
out in
its
the parking
name?
lot.
He's in the guest bedroom of my 2-bed apartment. It clearly works.
He's
And that's
always laying down whenever you're doing the show.
Yes.
Yes, that's how it works right there. Oh,
No,
man.
they've been. It's really, as I said, you know me, I like purple because I'm a Minnesota Viking fan. So
Sorry about that.
sorry about that. Yeah, to everyone, but
Minnesota.
I've been a big Husky fan for a while too. I think they've got a beautiful university. That is what
Yeah.
a scenic spot that is.
That's like
I wish back in the day somebody would have said, "Hey, would you like to come here and then go to Boston?" I'd have taken that trip to Washington. I'd have probably never left Washington State. What a beautiful place that is.
Husky Stadium is.
Yes, you haven't been there either. You got to make that trip.
I
right?
haven't. Yeah, and there are so many more historic venues for college football. You think of the Big House, you think
Sure.
of the Horseshoe, you think of the Swamp, all sorts of historic venues of programs that have a little bit more history than Washington does. But just the way Husky Stadium looks on TV
Oh, yeah.
with the backdrop over the river and the downtown skyline you get of Seattle, like it's gorgeous, man. Like that's a bucket list place for me.
Oh, by the
Sure.
way, they started that tradition of pissing on things
Oh,
when they
Washington
pissed on
fans?
Oregon twice this year.
Mm.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. Indeed. It's a talented Washington bunch for sure. Buck, you brought this up earlier. So Texas's coaching staff has 15 games of college football playoff experience under its belt. Now, none of that's as a head coach, right? This is
No.
Texas's first time in the CFP. Obviously, Sark's first time as a head coach in the college football playoff. But the Longhorns, a lot of the Longhorn coaches, and you look at some of the players too. Adonai Mitchell, back-to-back
Right.
national champ at Georgia. He's been a part of this playoff. Keelan Robinson was a member of that 2020 national title team at Alabama. You've got a lot of experience with that long layoff on this Texas staff. Washington, 0 games of college football playoff experience, both on the coaching staff and with that roster as well. Something that maybe could pay some dividends for the Longhorns in preparation for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, those are the small things. I mean, you got to practice. You got to get out there. You still, as I said before, you got to hit. Who's willing to get out there and hit? But you got to know how much and how much time you want to spend being really physical with your football team. And it's a long year. It's been a long stretch for Texas and Washington. As I said, this group, a team that's undefeated every week is in a playoff type atmosphere.
Yeah.
When you're undefeated, you want to stay undefeated. And they've found ways to do that. For Texas, they've only lost one game. And since the Oklahoma game, Texas had to find ways to do that. So you still have to – you got to know what your injury list is like. You got to know who can take the hits, who can't take the hits, how long should we hit, how do we spread out our practices. But as you said, with Texas, they've got experience doing that. They've been in championship play. But the Washington Huskies have been in championship play too.
Yeah.
You're undefeated. I mean, that's a tough task. And as we know, the haul in the Pac-12 has been pretty hard this year. That hasn't been a bunch of chumps.
No.
I mean, that's been the real deal this season. And they found a way to navigate an undefeated season and to beat Oregon twice. And, I mean, some of the teams they played weren't quite like we thought they were, but that didn't happen until later on in the year. Early in the middle of the season, Pac-12 was rough. That was a rough group.
Yeah, there were
all over
eight.
the place.
There were 8 teams ranked in the Pac-12 at one point this season, right? And the conference didn't end as hot as it started.
Sure.
But this was one of the best years ever for the Pac-12. It's kind of sad that the conference is breaking apart because it felt like maybe there's a chance this conference is actually going to be good for the next few years. But no, look, Texas, if you look at the numbers, the Longhorns played a tougher strength of schedule than Washington did, but a lot of that is skewed by Texas going on the road to play Alabama. Like the Pac-12 this year was better than the Big 12.
Yep.
Obviously, the team that Washington saw in their conference title game was better than the team that Texas saw in their conference title game. So this is not, Rodney, one of those years where it's like, they came out of the Pac-12. We probably shouldn't respect them at all. They haven't played anybody good. No, Washington has earned their keep. They played some tough teams to go undefeated to get to this spot.
They have, and talking about them not losing this year, they haven't lost in a long time. I mean, even dating, beyond this year, and it is. I mean, they you wouldn't call it a gauntlet of a schedule with what they went through right there, but it was. And I'm totally with you. The fact that conference is going to dissolve, that sucks, especially coming off a year like this. I mean, where you had really good teams, and you had it's just the college football this year to me, and the NFL as well. We've just seen so much parity. And that's why, talking about this game that we're going into tomorrow, we expect a lot of fireworks. We expect explosive plays and all the different things. But, man, if this turned into a defensive battle, I mean, would we be surprised with everything that we've seen this year with teams getting knocked off by, teams they shouldn't lose to and so forth, Trey? So that's kind of the beauty. I mean, we just saw it again. Arizona beat Philadelphia in NFL stuff. Who would have thought that, man? So I think that just goes back to with Washington. That's a solid team. They know how to win. They want to win. They want to keep winning, and they want to silence a lot of the naysayers tomorrow night.
Like Texas, they showed a resilience throughout the season in moments where you see a lot of teams falter because of a key injury or something like that, or a side of the ball just not getting it going. But they showed a sort of toughness down the stretch that I don't think should be taken too lightly. 3 of the last 4 matchups were against ranked opponents, and that 4th was their rivalry game against Washington State. Yep. So this is a team that has had to play tough football recently and did have to deal with a lot of doubt with the most recent game that they played, that Pac-12 championship game where Oregon was such heavy favorites.
Yeah. And Bucky, you mentioned that a while ago. It's extremely hard to beat anybody twice. And the fact that Washington has done that tells you how solid that program is. And it tells you that they've got a veteran group. They've got a solid coaching staff. This matchup right here, I mean, you've got 2 really good matchups tomorrow. But I think that first game, I think, is the one that maybe that one is the one that could get out of hand. I mean, you don't want either one of them to get out of hand. But I think this Washington-Texas matchup, I don't care how you bill it. I don't care how you sell it. This one is going to give you something pretty special.
Yeah, it will. And I think it's going to – I mean, Texas may have an edge. I don't know enough about Washington's special teams, but I know enough about Texas special teams.
That's going to be key.
They're damn good. They really, really are what you want your special teams to look like. And it's taken a year. They've had some stuff where they got good on blocking punts last year, but they weren't so great at the return game. Well, now they're good at all aspects. They cover for kicks. They return kicks well. At any given time, they'll block a punt. If you're not prepared, they'll come in and block a punt on you, which I expect to see tomorrow night.
And you got a good kicker. That's important.
Hold on, you're putting in the call for a block punt?
There's going to be a block punt tomorrow.
By Texas?
Oh, yeah, Texas is getting the block punt. I mean,
okay.
You don't have enough practice.
You called it the last time.
Yeah.
That's right.
You don't have enough time to practice that thing. And for this group at Texas, their special teams coach, he will find a spot. He'll find a weakness in that punt game of Washington and go get one tomorrow.
Honest admission time. I don't know much about Washington's special teams, guys. What can you tell me?
They're special.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's analysis right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Right there.
I don't think their kicker has made a field goal of more than 50 yards this season.
Okay.
He hasn't been incredibly inaccurate, but Bert Auburn, I think, has the kicking edge in this game. And look, Xavier Worthy is an All-American caliber return man. So I think Texas has a little bit more juice in that front too. So
yeah, and I think this will be that close.
Good.
You're right, BK. I think the game will be that close that special teams could have something to play in this. I mean,
yeah,
you got to feel you can't make mistakes. You can't let balls, you can't let them drop. You can't have long fields that you have to drive. You got to make sure you catch the ball, field the ball. But when you have an opportunity to block one, you got to get it. And that's the same thing in the passing game for me with Michael Penix. Michael Penix is going to throw the ball. And as I said, tip balls that may flutter out into nowhere. Texas they have to be there. Michael Taft, the guy who seems to be around the football for some odd reason, just because he has a nose for the football, he will make a difference tomorrow. I think he'll have an interception tomorrow. That ball will get tipped around and he'll find a way to get there.
He seems to be in the right spot.
He does. I mean,
it's like every time
those aren't mistakes. That's just the guy who has a nose for where the ball is. I mean, he shows up on film an awful lot. He may not be the initial attackee, but he's around there. when there's some action, he's around that pile. And tomorrow will be very important because, as I said, Michael Penix Jr. is going to throw it, and he's going to say, my guy is better than your guy.
Yep.
And if that ball gets tipped, if it's high and gets tipped, I expect to see Michael Taft sitting behind, especially some of those overthrows.
Mm-hmm.
I expect to see him there. I don't know if he's just slow enough to be in a spot.
Oh, because he's white. He's
I know.
slow.
I didn't. I'm not saying
I
that.
caught that.
You did.
I caught
Who-
that.
You literally called out the
Right.
white player in the
I'm
secondary and
just
said
saying-
he might be too
He's
slow.
slow.
I know. I'm just saying he
Slow.
seems to be in the right spot at the right time.
Sometimes less speed allows you to get to the play
Thank you,
exactly
thank you,
when you
Trey.
need to, and that ball is popped up into your arms.
Right.
It's working out
Oh.
well for us right
He's
now.
got some sneaky speed, huh?
Oh, no.
Jim Rat.
Good
Yeah.
hands.
Shoots good free
Right,
throws.
right
Yeah.
place at the right time. He's just smarter than
Coach's
everybody
son, the
else.
whole
Ooh.
works. Yeah.
First one in, last
You're
one
smarter.
out. There to raise the team GPA. What else you got?
Yeah,
No, I mean,
come
I
on.
didn't say all of that. I'm just, he seems to be in the right place at the right time. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
He has been Johnny on the spot this year. 3 interceptions for Texas, and they needed him. They came in some close games.
Because I don't know what you're going to get out. I mean, I don't know what you're going to get out of Watts at cornerback. I just don't know. I have not seen him healthy, and it seems like forever at cornerback. I know you can call him the best corner that they have. Okay, he's the best corner that they have when he's healthy and ready to go. But I don't know how healthy he is. I just know that they're gonna test him. They're gonna test every one of these cornerbacks, and they're really gonna test the safeties.
Yeah.
They're gonna get after. They have 3 guys that can run down the field, and they're gonna get down the field. They're gonna get after it. So, I expect that we'll see a lot of balls being thrown, and Michael Penix Jr. will throw it sidearm. He'll throw it between his legs. He is that guy. He is the guy that has all the faith in the world in his receivers. And you know what? The same should be said for Quinn Ewers. And if these receivers aren't the best, if they're the second best, they're pretty good second best group that Texas has right now too.
Oh, you're going to see NFL receivers on both sides.
Sure.
Honestly, you're talking about 6 to 7 guys who might be catching passes in the NFL next season.
Right.
With this bunch. And obviously you throw Jatavion Sanders in there as a tight end for Texas. That's a guy who could have his
Is
name
this a
called.
sneaky Jordan Whittington type of game where
Well, you're making all these bold calls. You're calling block punt. You're calling Michael Taft interception. Are you going to go big Jordan Whittington game as well? I mean, I'll sign up for
it
it.
seems like one of those weird games for him where he gets 8 passes. He seems to be the guy. Everybody's paying attention to the other 2 dudes.
Big Magic
8
Johnson. What
catches,
does he
in
know?
the game.
I think this is like JT Sanders here. I think maybe this is where you get JT Sanders 6, 7 times.
Yeah, I've been saying that for 11 games.
Well, that's
12 games.
I keep waiting for it. I mean,
Throw it to him early.
yeah. Do it early and often. I think is what has to happen right there.
Well, everyone's talking about how bad Texas's secondary has been at times this year, and it hasn't been great. The numbers tell you that. The eye test will tell you that too. Washington's secondary has been worse.
Yeah.
Significantly worse. Now, Washington has had more teams throw against them than any other team in the country. And a big part of that is because Washington has won every game. They've gotten to some early leads where teams
Sure.
have had to play catch up. And when you're playing from behind, that means you got to throw the ball a lot. So other teams throw it a lot against you. You're going to give up a lot of yards. But still, you're talking about a team that ranks in the 120s, Trey, in the country in terms of pass defense. They've got one really good corner, a guy by the name of Jabbar Muhammad, who's actually cousins of Malik Muhammad, one of the Texas corners, funny enough.
Yep.
But outside of that, this Washington secondary, especially their corners, they can be beaten. And it's not just one receiver. Like, that's what we saw last year. Texas had one really good, consistent receiver, but even Xavier Worthy wasn't consistent. He was playing with a broken hand, and he was awful in that game against Washington. Well, now you've got A.D. Mitchell. You still have X, who's clearly better this year than he was last year. You've got Jordan Whittington. You've got J.T. Sanders. All of these weapons against a secondary that just has not been good this year. I don't think enough people are talking about what this Texas passing offense can do against Washington.
Agreed with that. They're getting a little bit healthier at safety too, which obviously helps out. But I think there are opportunities to be had for sure, while also keeping in mind that this is a Washington team that showed the ability to make plays down the stretch this season. It's a big reason why they are still undefeated right now. So they're great on third down. They're great in red zones. I want to see Texas continue to go in the right direction in both of those with both of those things. I feel like we've seen an improvement over the last handful of games. Now, everything was going right for them against Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, which is a product of the entire experience, I guess. But yeah, we'll see what this Texas receiving corps can do on Washington's defensive backs.
Yeah, and they should get a little stress too from the running backs coming out of the backfield. Like I said, if the linebackers can't cover, you can't sit around and do what Mike Gundy did and say, "Oh no, we'll wait till our linebackers cover these guys." That's a long day for the linebackers from Washington. So I expect to see their safeties come to become sort of like linebackers because they're going to have to cover. They're going to have to cover guys out. They're going to have to cover blue out of the backfield, and that's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
Not for a linebacker, it won't.
But do you think that this may be a ball game? We talked about this as well on Thursday, to where possibly the game plan from Sarkisian will be talking about blue right there in the running game and talking about JT Sanders, across the middle to maybe slow this ball game down. I mean, because that's the best way to stop that Washington offense, keep them on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to take their shots, but I like for this defense to continue to play. They've been playing, and I've been under that theory of make them play one more down, make them get another first down and another first down, and make them make another play. If they get nice yards gained on first down, okay, make them do something on second down, make them do something on third down. You got to keep them making them make plays until they make a mistake. That's what's going to happen with them. As we said, Michael Penix Jr. is going to take off and run for 4 or 5 yards to get a first down. He doesn't want to run to do that. He's not looking to do that, but he will. In order for this team to win, in order for this team to stay undefeated, he's had to do stuff like that where he may have not been a willing runner, but he will run for 4 or 5 yards to keep the chains moving. It's not like he's afraid to.
His athleticism is shown off by how he keeps plays alive and how he has really good pocket presence,
right.
Moves away from the pressure, keeps his eyes down.
He understands where the pressure's coming from, yeah.
He definitely does. Zay said something a little bit earlier I hadn't thought much about, but I would like also to see Quinn Ewers using his legs a little bit more tomorrow night. He is healed up enough now, and you also are just emphasizing heavily to him, look, you have got to slide. Do not try to pick up that extra yard or two unless it's a point in the game that you absolutely have to. But you need to be smart about these things. We need you on the field, and your legs were a weapon earlier this season.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, if he's got the opportunity, and I think we saw him seize those opportunities early in the season, he's healed up now enough that he shouldn't be worried about all that stuff. But, dude, please do slide. Please do. I mean, you're just, a couple hamburgers away from being back the way you were. So let's just go on and pretend that as you said, you're not Tim Tebow. Just go ahead and make that slide.
Never let him forget the freshman 15, right? So he's got to stay in the back of his head so he doesn't put it back on. We are joined now by one Chip Brown, who I hung out with and partied with for a very small amount of time last night.
You're the one who did this to this guy?
Is that why you're late today, Chip? You've been reeling a little bit today?
I'm reeling. I don't know if I'm reeling as much as my man Trey was, who got hit on by the woman whose birthday party we ended up crashing last night.
She did. That was awkward. She said, give me a kiss. And I said, I'm sorry I can't. I'm married.
Oh, your wife's not here. She's in a different state. You know how marriage works.
That's another one of those traditions, once you pass the Texas state line.
Yeah, well,
fair
game. Know what? To each their own, I guess. But for
go.
me, that was the response. And so she asked, can I kiss you on the cheek? She was the birthday girl, so I didn't want to completely crush her. So I'm like, yeah, sure. And then the hotel was like trying to throw everybody out of the party.
Because of that?
No, thankfully not because of that. Because they brought outside food and beverage into this room where you're not supposed to have outside food and beverage. I didn't get it other than watching it continue to escalate. So I helped de-escalate it before we went on our merry way.
Trey was the man. So was Zay. I feel like I owe both of them an apology, but I think I was pretty well on my way, so I didn't even really realize what was going on. But
it was a hilarious footnote in the evening. Exactly. It was such a New Orleans moment. I loved it for that.
It was a New Orleans moment.
Wait, Zay was there? Because I heard Cam Williams was there. I didn't realize Zay was also with
Zay was there.
Oh,
dude, that was so funny to see. I witnessed that in person last night. Have you heard the story about Zay getting mistaken for Cam Williams by a 10-year-old kid?
Oh, I thought Chip was with you guys when this happened.
No, this was after we parted ways. This would have been after we saw Chip, right? The second time. So, yeah, we went back to the Marriott and we're just drinking the bar or whatever. And Zay and I are standing there, like looking at things on our phone or whatever. And this 10-year-old kid walks up and I see him ask Zay for his autograph, which hilariously, we had talked about this scenario playing out to him all the time a couple of hours earlier. And I couldn't hear what the kid was saying. So Zay looks at me after that. I'm like, what did he want? He's like, he just thought I was Cam Williams. Like, Cam Williams is 6'8", like 375 pounds. That kid has a terrible gauge of how tall or heavy somebody is.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Cam Williams. This kid must be really small.
He was tiny. He was probably a couple years older than my son, size-wise anyhow.
So, like,
how does they measure size and age? How does that work?
Well, the smaller you are, the bigger people look.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that checks out.
Oh, okay.
That's from a guy who has no kids.
Point,
Remember, he has no kids. He doesn't.
For a 5-year-old,
at least
Zay looks like Cam Williams.
Yeah, that's fair.
This kid was 10.
Oh,
not okay.
What's wrong with
yeah,
that
he
kid?
probably.
We're bordering. Yeah, I felt bad for the kid though, because you could tell it took every ounce of courage for him to go up to Zay to ask for his autograph, only to find out that it wasn't Cam Williams.
Okay, so for the listeners who have no idea what we're talking
Yeah.
about, last night at the Media Hotel, my wife Elle and I are watching the Cowboys-Lions game with a friend, and these people are setting up this birthday party in the club lounge of the hotel.
Okay.
And like they set it up, and then like hours go by and there's no one at the party. And so this woman comes over to us and she's like, this is my friend's birthday party and no one's showing up.
Oh, what does that say?
And so we're like,
I'm out of here.
Oh, you didn't even know these people.
oh no. And she's like, we have all this alcohol, we have all this food,
Okay.
you know.
That's just an opportunity for
Help.
you guys.
She
Help
must
yourself.
really suck. Free food, free alcohol, and no one showing up. Like, she must be a
So
horrible
the
person.
woman
They
says
were
that
causing
the
some problems
birthday
with the hotel
girl,
people. They were causing
the
some
birthday
problems.
girl walks over to this woman and is like, you didn't invite any of my friends. And she said, I did invite your friends. Anyway,
That's the one.
somehow-
That's the one that tried to kiss me too.
the birthday
The
girl.
crazy chick.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
2 seconds after meeting her, she's like, "I want to kiss you." Nope.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, I
No.
think the quote
not
was,
happening.
yeah, no, from Trey.
Yeah.
So-
So he's like, "Yeah, no."
So, yeah, total New Orleans moment last night. And, that got the tailgate started.
Did y'all move with them to the party in their
No.
room? Okay. Y'all
No.
parted ways.
We moved to our room and called it a night.
We Irish goodbye the shit out of that thing. I got the
On
the
her
first,
birthday,
the first
you wouldn't
round.
kiss her and you Irish goodbye at her party? You're an asshole.
Well, you know what? They were being assholes to the hotel staff. I helped to de-escalate the situation, and we wanted no more of that. That was only going to get worse if we stuck around.
Yeah, Trey was the man. Sorry about that. But hopefully you got a story now that you can,
What-
maybe never tell again.
Yeah.
What are y'all getting into tonight?
Tonight, we're going out with some friends. We have a late dinner reservation. And then we'll try and get to the bayfront for the fireworks.
Oh,
I think
that's a
like
good idea.
That's the place to be.
they got fireworks out here.
Oh,
yeah.
We're staying across
big
the
time.
street from a tent camp, and I feel like I heard a couple of fireworks go off last
Fireworks,
night.
yeah, really.
Could have
Oh,
been some
man.
gunshots. Could have been some fireworks.
Yeah, could have been
We-
anything.
Could have been anything.
Our neighborhood borders the tent city for sure.
Yeah, I
There's
might go
no
sleep
doubt
there
about it.
tonight. I might go switch it up a little bit. Invite one of the homeless to our place and switch spots with them. Go see what it's like on the other side of the
Sounds-
highway.
Sounds like we need to come over to the Airbnb and see what's going on.
They will definitely
Yeah,
have
no?
they
Yeah.
will definitely have more trash can fires than we will at the Airbnb.
Chip, is there
We've seen
anything
a
that
few
you're
of
doing
those.
that involves the game at all?
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
Football game? Has
Yes.
there been some of the things?
so I've been here since Wednesday, been to every press conference. The first day was the most exciting because you had Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy talking, and some guy asking them about how impressed they were with the Washington offensive line, and Tavondre Sweat said they're another offensive line to me. And the guy's like, well, they won the Joe Moore Award, and Tavondre Sweat's like, well, I won awards too.
Yeah.
They got to face us.
Yep.
And it just sort of started this little back and forth. Michael Penix then was asked about the defensive line. He's like, well, it's not like we're going up against the 49ers, the Eagles defensive line. So that was a good way to start things off. That's the marquee matchup in this game, the Texas, defensive line against that Joe Moore Award winning offensive line. And can they get to Michael Penix? So, it's been, it does seem like the Longhorns are loose. Steve Sarkisian said this team's better when they're loose. And he said every time he's gone to check on the player hospitality suite, all the players are there together.
It's all packed.
It's not guys splintering off, going their own way. Although I saw Jet Bush in the casino the other night.
There you go.
There you go.
Jet's he's like a 6-year guy.
Oh,
What-
sure.
What was he playing?
He was just kind of walking around. Maybe he was eyeballing his, blackjack table or.
You think
or
he
craps table.
caresses the slot machines like Bucky does?
Jeez.
Rubbed
It's paid
up
off
on
so
him?
Hey,
far.
whatever works, right?
Yeah,
Buck?
yeah, this is different. These slot machines are different. I like I'm old. I like old slot machines.
Yeah.
These
Too
are
many
way
lights
too-
and sounds on
Yeah,
these.
yes. There's all lights and sounds making me nervous. I got to back away.
So you've been playing a lot more craps than anything then?
Yes, that's what I played.
There you go.
You've done well for yourself,
Yes,
too.
I have.
Already?
I have.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. You know, I'm generally not when the dice generally get to me, I just say pass. You don't want any of these hands on your dice. But I'm okay.
You were rolling.
I'm rolling. Yeah, I'm rolling my own. I don't pass them.
If I go with you tonight, will you teach me craps?
You won't be able to. I mean, there won't be any women wanting to kiss you at the casino.
I don't want that. I'm looking for something otherwise. We left that party very quickly.
What's that woman doing tonight, by the way? Asking for a friend.
Oh,
Chip?
no idea.
Chip is quasi friends with her.
I'm not going anywhere near the 42nd floor of the Sheraton tonight, to be honest.
Man. So, Chip, you've been here a few days. You feel like the team is loose. Look, I've been listening to your show with Zay all week long. I mean, for you personally, just what's the matchup or a couple of matchups that have you most intrigued by this game tomorrow night? We've obviously been previewing this for a month now, and thank God it's finally almost here because
Right.
it's been the longest month of, I think, any of our lives. But for you, with what you've studied about Washington, with what you know about this Texas team, a couple of matchups or just elements of this game that have you most intrigued tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Xavier Worthy's kind of giving off mixed signals about how good his ankle is doing. Like on the first day when we asked him, "Are you 100%?" He said, "No, but I'm getting there." Then Molly McGrath from ESPN asked him about his ankle, and he said he's in constant pain. And so, you know, I checked with sources. I'm like, did he aggravate something in practice last night? And they're like, no. So, you know, we watched him in practice. He was moving around okay. So,
Is he playing possum?
he
with
could be
that
playing
comment?
possum. Could be playing possum.
Because he has a propensity to exaggerate the injury when he's coming off the field too, and then you see a certain explosiveness when he comes in after that. So hey, if it's part of the head games that these two teams are playing with one another right now, so be it.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to look good. Like,
Yeah.
I believe what you're hearing behind the scenes too. And
Yeah,
like what you've
Brian
been able to
Watts
see
looked
from
good
those
running
guys.
around. Austin Jordan's running around. So, I mean, I was told the team is as healthy as it's been.
Yeah.
And
That's a must, right?
that's a must.
Like Texas needs, you're talking about your top receiver, and A.D. Mitchell's having an amazing year. But you're also talking about your top corner, and we know Manny Muhammad has been great, and Terrence Brooks has been solid too. But you're talking about, two of your best players going up against maybe the best team you played all year.
Well, and Buck, JT Sanders is one of those guys also, maybe not as dinged up as those dudes, but you can tell that he's been laboring at times through that ankle injury suffered all the way back against Kansas. So for him to get a little bit of additional time off, we're going to see him even more explosive tomorrow night too.
And that's a good thing. They need him to be explosive. Yeah, and not only the pass game, but in the run game, he's been pretty good this year. This is the best I've seen him as a run blocker. He's done really, really well this season.
Yeah.
Well, the guy you have to go after is Elijah Jackson, number 25 for Washington.
Okay.
I'll be surprised if Steve Sarkisian doesn't target him. Whoever he's lined up on, whether it's AD or Worthy, and just go at him until they adjust the coverage, and then go to the other side. And that's kind of what they did against Alabama. And they went to Worthy early. He got the deep ball touchdown. They shaded the coverage. They went to AD, and then the middle of the field opened up for JT Sanders, and he went wild in the second half of that game. Maybe a similar situation in this game. I'm also curious to see if Texas will put Tavondre Sweat head up on the 275-pound center, Parker Brailsford, who's really athletic. He sounds like a Dan Neal type buck. Super smart, leverage, athletic, but outsized by 100 pounds. So, does Texas kind of change things up from the norm? Because typically Sweat eats a double team. Murphy's shooting gaps, and Murphy's really good at that. But when you have a 100-pound weight advantage on a redshirt freshman against a fifth-year senior, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. And then the other thing is Washington's tight ends are good. They're really good, and they're totally under the radar. Jack Westover, Devin Culp, there's 4 of them, and they all have a touchdown reception this season. And as Washington gets close to the red zone, say 30, 25 and in, these guys start catching the football. And so, so much focus on Adunze and Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan, those tight ends sneak in there and make, really effective plays in the red zone. So,
Chip, who's not under radar is the running backs from Texas right now coming out of the backfield. Is Sark going to stay with that? Is he going to make sure that Washington covers these guys? And if they try to cover them with the linebackers, continue to go like they did against Oklahoma State, which Gundy made no adjustments to.
Right.
He said, we can cover them with our linebackers, and they couldn't. I mean, you see Sark saying, these kids now can catch the ball out of the backfield, not just run with the ball, but they're a part of our passing game.
Big time, because we saw that in the Big 12 title game, as you said. I mean, they're catching footballs, more and more and more. The trust factor between this coaching staff and Jaden Blue has gone through the roof. I was talking to Tashard Choice yesterday. He compares him to Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, from a speed standpoint, and he's catching the football. He's doing the things that they need, the blitz pickup. So, Jaden Blue, I'd be surprised if, since Jonathan Brooks went down, at that point, Texas was averaging 27 carries, 189 yards per game on the ground. Since he went down, 30 carries for 207 yards per game on the ground. Now, obviously, there were some blowouts in there. But, look, they blew out Texas Tech. Oregon played Texas Tech to a one-possession game. So I just get the sense that you're going to see the Texas running backs used in every capacity necessary to spread out that defense or get a mismatch.
That's an interesting comparison between Blue and Gibbs. I think Gibbs maybe has a little bit more upper body strength. The explosiveness may be dead on for sure, but that's one of the great things about this Texas offense right now. It sucked Jonathan Brooks going down, but you have these three guys who offer different skill sets, and Steve Sarkisian has been great about using them in kind, but they also run similar plays too. Like, they're comfortable enough with the playbook that they have that versatility about them within themselves. I wouldn't be surprised to see CJ Baxter have a huge game, or maybe he helps finish the game off tomorrow night as that change of pace, even though he's going to be getting some carries earlier too, Buck.
Yeah, I mean, for him late in the games, and he's gotten to the point now in his first year that he's a finisher. He can finish the game for you too. He can get those 4 or 5 yard runs that are really going to help you. And forget the 4 or 5, the 3 yard runs that are going to help you out to keep moving the chain. So, I expect him to use all three guys.
And I was talking to Greg McElroy, who's going to call the game with Sean McDonough tomorrow night, and he, I said, okay, like, tell me why Steve Sarkisian is such a great play caller. Everyone says he's a great play caller. He said it's because he's gonna start off with a run, and then he's gonna line up in the exact same way, and it's gonna be a play action pass.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna line up the exact same way, and it's gonna be a screen to the other side of the field. And then he's going to line up the exact same way, and there's going to be a counter off of it, whether it's like a jet sweep. So he said he's going to give you the same look 4 times, and you're going to get a totally different look. And the keys are going to be the same.
Right.
And he does such a good job of what McElroy called layering, so that the defense thinks, okay, here comes that run again, and whoop, there's the play action pass. Or, okay, they got us with the play action pass. Watch the play action pass. All of a sudden, it's play action, but it's maybe it's a yo-yo motion to a screen, and he said it's a lost art, that layering. And he said he's patient. Like, there are guys who they can't wait to get to this play that they've been working on, and as soon as they get plus 45, 1st and 10. They want to run that play. Well, oh gosh, they're in cover 2. That's not going to work. He's like, some coaches will force it.
We'll run it anyway. Yeah.
Sark will be like, nope, we'll go to this and we'll wait.
BK, that's a really interesting analysis there, and it's comparable to what you see in baseball with a pitcher who has 4 effective pitches that he throws from the same arm slot. So the batter doesn't have any tiny advantage to be able to guess what's coming. Same thing's happening with Steve Sarkisian against opposing defenses.
Yeah, he's done a great job of that all year. And look, you talk about pre-snap motion too. There's certain things that Sark does to be deceptive, right? I mean, it's so much easier to call plays and run good defense if you know what the other team is going to do. And Sark, I feel like Kalen DeBoer does a good job of this too.
Yes,
Washington's
he does.
Offensive
Ryan
line,
Grubb.
they do a great job of just being deceptive, right? A lot of eye candy. They'll think you're doing this, but they're actually doing that. Two of the best offensive minds in the sport. And I really feel like, Sark has been in his bag too the last couple of weeks. Chip, I brought this up earlier. It feels like since Jonathan Brooks went down, I think Sark realized he needed to elevate his game even more because that 3rd and 3, hand it off to Jonathan Brooks. He's probably going to pick up the first down for you. You don't need to be all that creative to find a way to be successful when you have a Doak Walker award-winning caliber running back in your backfield. It just feels like the last couple of games, and I know Washington's a lot better than Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, but Sark has also done even more of that. And he pulled out all of the stops. And it feels like in big games, the Alabama game last year, the Alabama game this year, some of the Oklahoma plays that we've seen, the Big 12 championship, even though Oklahoma State's not the caliber of opponent that those other teams are, obviously a massive game for Texas. It feels like he's a big game play caller too, and he saves his best stuff for moments like this. I think he's going to be ready, and he's going to make Washington struggle a lot defensively.
Yeah, and Quinn Ewers, I mean, I last week I did some awards in my insider column and called him Big Game Hunter.
Yeah,
because the guy elevates, and Steve Sarkisian talked about it, and I think they both elevate, and that's what you want, man. When your quarterback is picking up on everything that you're putting down, and there's that, kismet, chemistry, symbiosis that's going on between the quarterback and the playmakers, you're going to be able to handle adversity. You're going to know, okay, they got us on that one. We'll come back. We'll get them. And there's a chip on this team's shoulder. I think on both teams' shoulders. I mean, I said this, if this was a championship fight, these fighters would be eye to eye and nose to nose. Neither one is backing down. Michael Penix is so confident. Dylan Johnson is so confident. Roma Dunze, Jalen Polk. I talked to all these guys this week. They know what they do works, and they know that they're special. It's going to take an unbelievable effort from, and I talked to McElroy. McElroy's like, okay, who's going to be the safety opposite Jaron Thompson while Derek Williams is out the first half? I said, it's probably going to be Michael Taft and Keaton Crawford. He said, okay, those guys cannot get caught in a one-on-one with Roma Dunze.
Yeah.
Or it's over.
Or
I mean, that was the
anybody.
quote, or it's over.
Yep.
So chess match, because Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, they know how to motion guys into a stack to make sure that they get the safety covering their best receiver running his best route against the worst cover guy in your secondary. So it's going to be, a really good chess match tomorrow night.
I'm interested really, Chip, too, also to see where the pressure from Texas is going to come on the outside. I mean, I got to see Mr. Sorrell's kid have a great game.
Yeah.
He needs to have the best game that he's played all year. He's been better, and he's been consistent, but he has to have the best game that he has played all year in this game tomorrow night.
Speaking of getting good individual efforts, of course, with stopping the run, but also with that pass rush, getting pressure on Penix. It seems obvious to say, but
it's hard to
Anthony Hill should see more pass rush opportunities this game than what we've seen over the second half of the season. Do you agree with that? And are you hearing anything one way or another about PK maybe trying to do that?
I mean, that's what they did against Alabama.
Right.
And Anthony Hill came up with 2 massive third down sacks. So that guy elevates in the big game. So you got to put him in position to do it. And I think they will. Because I do think Washington's going to go heavy. I mean, I think they're going to go 2-3 tight ends to try to get Jahdae Barron. Earlier in the season, it would have been off the field. Now they have the Mo Blackwell package where, they move Anthony Hill up. They take Ethan Burke off the field. Mm-hmm. Hill goes up to a pass rusher. Mo Blackwell and Jahdae Barron are at linebacker level. And, you are able to sort of cover those tight ends and, contain the run while rushing the passer. So I think we'll see that. We saw it a lot against K-State. I think we'll see it again tomorrow night. And I think, when you look at the playmakers for Texas, Barron Sorrell, he's number 2 on the team in quarterback pressures behind Byron Murphy. And he had that sack against K-State on 4th and goal. I think he's he's been good when they've needed him, but when it's third down tomorrow night in the fourth quarter,
Yes.
that's when he's got to come through.
He's probably been the most underrated performer on this
I think
defense
so.
this year, just
Yes.
because you don't see the number that matters most, right, to a defensive lineman, according to those novices out there, and that's a sack. But the quarterback pressures is obviously a huge deal, as is
The run defense.
stepping up in the run defense and also stepping up big in huge moments.
Yeah.
It's a tough ask because Washington's got the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line on its team, and the tackles are probably the strength of that group.
Right,
Now,
for sure.
They don't really have any weaknesses. Chip, you brought up Brailsford, the center, who's a bit undersized, but he's actually graded out as their best run blocker this year, which I
Right.
found fascinating. But it's going to be tough because Washington's tackles are really good. So I agree with you, Buck. Like, Texas needs that pressure off the edge, but it won't be an easy task for Sorrell and Burke and everybody there.
And they move. Like their offensive line is athletic, so they're going to roll the pocket. They're going to bootleg and waggle Penix to try to wall off, from Tavondre Sweat. They're going to move. And then I think you'll see them go tempo at times to try to tire Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. So, Washington's going to give you every look under the sun. They got weapons for days. And Penix, that guy does not lack for confidence.
Oh, no, he'll throw it up, and he'll throw it up for grabs, too.
He will. He's had a pick in each of his last two games.
Yeah, he's a sidearm slinger. When he's throwing it Purdy, he looks great. And he's gotten away with some sidearm stuff, but you got an opportunity to get your hands on some of those sidearm balls that he throws, because he throws them way low. He throws them way down from the side, but he throws a lot of different angles. But I think the Longhorns will have an opportunity for this defensive line to bat some balls down and really, get a lot of incompletions that way, because he's not going to care about the guys in the secondary. He's going to throw those up for grabs. Those 50-50s become 80-20s with his group, and they've done that all year long. And he doesn't really care if he's got a one-on-one. He's not thrown into a pile of defenders. He doesn't care. If your guy's one-on-one with one of his guys, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the big tall guy.
Right.
He believes in all of those guys that'll go up and beat your defender.
Well, my man Zay Collier, who
What's happening?
we keep the hits on coming in here.
Cam Williams Jr. Or is Cam Williams a junior? Because if so, you're Cam Williams Jr., right?
I mean, I'm older than the guys, so more like Zay Collier Jr.
There you go.
How about that? Even though,
Cam Williams Sr., can we meet in the middle?
No, I don't look that like Cam Williams. How about just leave it alone, let the kid live?
Yeah. Like I said, the kid was totally devastated when it wasn't Cam
That's
Williams.
what I'm saying. Everybody's been telling, why don't you give him the autograph and stuff? Just lie to the kid? Like, come on now.
You would have found out later.
I think you should have said yes, but then signed Zay Collier. I think that would have been the best move right there. And he's just totally confused at that point.
That's true. I could have done something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't want Cam Williams. I would have signed Cam Williams. He'd come back and get me for that.
Sue you?
Yeah, sue my ass.
Yeah,
Cam
come on,
Williams,
man.
he could be a big-time NFL player. I don't need that on my record.
There you go.
But you've been saying get the hands up. Get the hands up.
Oh, hell yeah.
Ethan Burke, bat those passes.
Need to.
That's like Cece said, get the hands up on defense.
I know, man, because Michael Penix, as Buck says, he gets the ball out of his hands so fast. Like, sometimes you don't even have time to even do anything because the ball's already gone. And those receivers, they're so quick with their releases, man. Like, Pete Bukowski, don't let that scare you. Like, you think about all the people that we've talked to leading up to this game, all the Washington insiders, like, nobody's played those receivers tight. Everybody's been afraid, and I get it, but you can't come in this game scared.
No.
You're at this point. You got to trust Malik Muhammad. You got to trust, Terrence Brooks, Ryan Watts. Hopefully he's healthy enough to trust him, and whoever else is part of that rotation, Gavin Holmes, throw him in there, New Orleans kid. Like, Gavin Holmes coming back to a lot of kinfolk here. So, yeah, I'm expecting the cornerbacks and the secondary, all the talk that they've heard, it should piss them off, and they should have a big game tomorrow.
It's one of Ryan Watts' biggest strength as a cover corner is being physical at the line of scrimmage. We've seen Muhammad do a good job of that. Terrence Brooks has gotten better at that too. Gavin Holmes. And obviously it's going to be a little bit situational, but I like the idea of Texas trying to challenge the Washington receivers like that and hoping to get quick pressure to force either a mistake or perhaps a sack of Michael Penix.
Yeah, they targeted the safety position repeatedly in last year's game. If you go back, they targeted the safety position more than any other. It was actually Anthony Cook that they targeted the most.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah, and you got to imagine they're going to go after the safety opposite. I mean, they could go after both safeties, honestly. The safeties got eaten alive against Houston, and Washington runs a lot of the same stuff, has similar type personnel at, Houston, maybe a poor man's Washington receiving core.
Yeah.
With Manjack and Matthew Golden, who's now a Longhorn. But
That's right.
they're going to go after the Texas safeties, and that's going to be that. Those are the guys who cannot be afraid. They have to go out there with confidence, and they gotta say, bring it.
Jaron Thompson's been better the last couple of games, guys. Obviously, not having Derek Williams in the first half is a big deal. There's not many players on this roster that I get nervous when I see them in a game when it matters. Keaton Crawford is one of those guys, though, and we've watched teams all year long go after Keaton Crawford when they see him back there with a lot of success. I know he had the interception against Oklahoma State, but everything was coming up Millhouse for Texas that game, and it was a bit of an underthrow, too. Still a nice play by him. Kudos to him on the interception, but I do not want to see a ton of Keaton Crawford in the first half. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, Zay and I were talking about this. In last year's game, Anthony Cook and Jaron Thompson played all 83 snaps at safety.
Huh.
Those two played all 83 snaps at safety. And as we know, Texas has been rotating more at safety than any other position on the team. And sometimes it's like, what are you doing? The communication gets lost when you've got a revolving door back there. Todd Orlando never substituted because he wanted the communication to be so good between, the 11 guys out there, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow night.
And not to play into another trope, guys, but one of Taft's big values in the second half of the season is getting this defense on the same page, helping to improve that communication, especially after what happened against Oklahoma. And
well, they had so many young guys playing in that secondary. Somebody had to do that. I thought the linebacker, I thought Ford spent so much time trying to get guys lined up. He never got a real chance early in the season to play his position as well as he did the year before, because he was too busy lining up guys, young guys in the secondary, other linebackers trying to teach them how to play the game. And he lost a little bit of a step because he did so much teaching himself and never got to be real natural the way he was the year before. So it'll be interesting, and he'll be interesting in this game too. He's got to be a part of that run stuffing. I mean, they get their 1,000-yard rusher, as you said. He's a physical. I don't want to call him a little guy, but he runs physical.
Tough.
He runs tough.
Yeah, he
runs hard.
He was at Mississippi State and played 3 years at Mississippi State. And it was interesting because when he was asked about going up against Tavondre Sweat, he said, I've played Georgia. I've played Bama. I've played LSU. I've seen these kind of guys. And he's tough. I mean, he ran for 2 touchdowns against Georgia last year. So, he's been in big games. Dylan Johnson, and he can catch the football. His best game was against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. So he's confident. The other thing I wanted to say real quick is Washington went after Texas's linebackers in coverage last year, and it was Jalen Ford and Diamante Tucker Dorsey, because DeMarvion Overshone was out of this game. And that's going to be interesting because we know Anthony Hill is not as comfortable dropping into coverage as he is rushing the passer. And Jalen Ford, we know, is comfortable dropping into coverage. He had the 4 interceptions a year ago. And that's another reason I look at this and say, and David Benda has struggled in coverage. So is it more Mo Blackwell, former safety, who is comfortable, dropping into coverage, or is it more David Benda, who tends to be the run stuffer, the guy who's going to come downhill and pop you? So a lot of chess matches going on in this thing.
But I like that because David Benda has played, to me, really, really, compared to where he was last year, he's been fantastic against the run.
Yeah.
And even from sideline to sideline, he's done well even in the past for him. He's come a long way. I mean, he does have another year of eligibility.
He does,
correct?
Believe it or not.
Somehow he can come back.
COVID year.
Again. Well, I like him. I like the way he played. I thought his hustle, his effort throughout the entire season. There's just certain things that he's not that well at. He doesn't do that well. But you know what those limitations are. but it never stopped him. He still hustled all over the place because when he made plays in the run game, he was sideline to sideline guy, and he just seemed so big last year that way, but not this year. He moves around. He's really worked on his body. He's done a good job.
Man.
Yeah, and that's one of the most impressive things about this defense, because coming into the year, we were all questioning who was going to be by Jalen Ford and take over for Demarion Overshone, and Anthony Hill, David Benda, Mo Blackwell at times. All those guys, they've just been amazing, and that's why Jeff Choate, he's off to Nevada to take his head coaching job. Like, he completely deserves that with the development of the linebackers. So you're confident in those guys being in there. We all know they have to rush for, because we know Michael Penix's numbers when he gets blitzed. I still think you should blitz them at times. You better be very careful with that, but you got to throw different things at this type of offense, because they'll pick up on the stuff if you do the same old things over and over again into the third and fourth quarter. They will make the adjustments. Sark and his crew, they have to be ready to make those adjustments to theirs. And yeah, like you said, Chip, it's going to be a chess match all game, and that's
Chip,
what you want this time of year.
Do you like to make them make another play and another play and another play, long extended drives where they need to be the ones making the mistake, and Texas just have to live another down and then another down. If they get a first down, guess what? Make them start again. And all those downs will matter for the Longhorns defense, I believe.
Yeah.
It's the one over the top that you can't see 4 or 5 of those that just go over the top of you for 60, 45, 30-yard plays. Those are the ones that just hurt you. Those are the ones that really pile up on you.
And Texas did a good job of not giving up explosive plays in this Alamo Bowl against these same receivers and Michael Penix a year ago, and they need to do that again. They got to, make them drive the length of the field, and then let that red zone defense take over and limit these guys to field goals. Because Texas, number 2 in the nation in red zone defense, number 3 in third down defense. They have been really good at getting you off the field. And that's something that we know Washington's red zone offense is really good. They're scoring touchdowns 70% of the time.
Sure.
Texas is scoring touchdowns 45% of the time when they go into the red zone. So, Washington, that's where the tight ends, you got to watch those Washington tight ends.
Yeah, you keep talking about those guys, man. 1 touchdown each, 4 total. Are we really that worried about their tight ends tomorrow night?
Yes, because
could be that sleeper thing that we're talking about. Maybe.
The least used of their tight ends, Contreras, is the one who caught the touchdown against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. So you could tell they were saving that up, and they kind of snuck him out the chicken coop and touchdown. So it's gonna be fun. I mean, Ryan Grubb, I've been saying this, he turned down Nick Saban to be his offensive coordinator this past offseason, and you turned down Nick Saban to stay with a team that you believe in this much. And remember, they recruited the hell out of Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk to stay at Washington when Kalen DeBoer got the job. Like, they said they didn't even go out and try to recruit high school kids. They were just trying to hang on to the guys they had. So Ryan Grubb said, after I had done that and they stayed for me, I needed to stay for them until they were, done with their time at UW. And so that there's a strong, bond between Ryan Grubb and those offensive players.
I think actually, Chip, now that you mentioned that, both of these teams, if you look at them, kind of constructed the same way, where you do have guys that are, quote, veteran players that you have in those positions, and you've gone out with your recruiting and you've supplemented. And that's a really good problem to have, where you look at a lot of programs, they're going out recruiting, and they're going out recruiting to play. I mean, to put them right in there. Both of these teams, they've got really good players that are just waiting, because they've got the vets that are taking care of business now. And I think that's a good thing about this. Another intriguing thing about this matchup coming up tomorrow, the depth. Depth is really good, it seems like, on the purple side and on the burnt orange side especially.
Yeah, and I think especially up front on defense. The fact that you can take out Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy and bring in an Alfred Collins and a Vernon Broughton and a Trill Carter, because if Washington decides to go tempo, they might go tempo with Tavondre Sweat in there just to try and get him tired, not wait until he's out of the game but they could wait till he's out of the game if they get a matchup that they like, go tempo where no one can substitute, and try to take advantage of certain things. And that's the thing about this Washington offensive staff. They are surgeons when it comes to that. I'm not as sold on Washington's defense. And like, you watch Washington's defense, they give you 25 minutes of unbelievable football and then 25 minutes of what the hell were they thinking?
Right.
And then they somehow get those last 10 minutes. They buckle down in that fourth quarter. They play really good fourth quarter defense. So you got to take advantage of that defense when they're a little bit, sideways.
Yeah, this is not a group you want to play. Texas can't be behind in this game. You got to be the aggressor and get on the board and get going.
Yeah.
You don't have to play catch up with this.
Buck, how do you feel? Okay, people think it's going to be a shootout. I had one coach tell me Texas is going to have to score 40 to win this game. I was like, come on, 40?
I think the defense is too good. I think the defensive front's too good. I think it'll be in the 30s, though.
Yeah.
I believe it'll be in the 30s.
But I mean, Texas is built for a shootout.
Sure. So, like you said, the depth on that defensive line, they can bring in guys. You can try to speed it up all you want to, but they've got enough depth to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to start fast. I mean, you can't spot these guys 17 points or anything like that. I mean, if you look up at the half and you're down, I mean, even 14, because this team is so fast and they can get on you so fast. So you can't let that happen. Guys, third down conversions tomorrow are going to be huge. I mean, you got to stay ahead of the sticks.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I think, that's where I go back to JT Sanders. Maybe he's utilized a little more to get you in I want to see 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s. I don't want to see 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. You're in trouble then. Yeah. You're in all kinds of trouble right then, even if that defense is a little lax.
And if you don't convert on 3rd and 2s, what's Sark going to do then?
Exactly.
If they're on those 4th and short situations, are you going to roll the dice and go for it, Dan Campbell style? Or are you going to have a good feel for the game and take the points? I mean, I don't know
about taking the points tomorrow. I need touchdowns tomorrow.
But that's a dangerous game because, again, you don't want the ball in Michael Penix's hands when they have good field position and momentum. So sometimes you'd rather them want to go 90 yards up the field other than
whatever Sark has been doing over the last 2 games, do it. That if you feel like you got to go for it on 4th and 2 or whatever, you go ahead. You've been dialing up some really nice stuff. He's now at his best right now. So I'm going to take it that he knows exactly how he feels in a situation. Do I take the 3 or do I go ahead and go for the score? I'm going to trust him. Tomorrow is a day you just trust the coach because he's gotten to you. He's helped you win a championship. He played in a championship. The week before that, it was still a championship game beating Texas Tech. And the 2 games that we've seen him lately, he's on the money right now. So I'm going to trust in him. I'm going to sit there and question some of it, but I'm going to trust that he knows how his players are right now too.
Yeah, I mean, I think to that Oregon regular season matchup with Washington, when Dan Lanning went for it on 4th down 3 times and whiffed, and I didn't like it. They intercepted Penix and they had a chance. They had 4th and goal from the 3 with like 2 seconds left. I was like, kick the field goal. You intercepted Michael Penix. Take that momentum.
Yes.
Take those points. You're on the road. And they went for the touchdown. They didn't get it. So they, and then they went for it again in the 4th quarter near midfield. They didn't get it. I just think you have to be careful because Washington is so explosive. You got to take points when you can get them. I loved what he did against Texas Tech. He kicked 5 field goals in that game and still won 57-7. And Bert Auburn's been really good. I mean, 19 of 20. Grady Gross, their kicker, has a 47-yarder this year. He doesn't have anything over 50.
No.
Now he kicks out in that crappy weather in the rain in Seattle. He's going to be in a dome. Does Kalen DeBoer stretch him to 50 tomorrow? I think, that's going to be interesting because Grady Gross is, 14 of 19 this year. I think he and Auburn have missed the same number of field goals.
And that's the thing on the other side. If you're Kalen DeBoer, you've been going for it all season because nobody could stop your offense, but you haven't faced a defense like Texas yet. So when you're in those situations where you're like, all right, our kicker, I'm not confident in him, but we got Michael Penix, just put it in his hands and find one of these receivers and keep on moving the chains. Does he have the confidence to do that? And will Texas, if he does have the confidence, make him pay by stopping them and hopefully flipping the game?
Hey, there we go. How about that?
Manning's right here in the
See?
heart of
Right there, huh?
Our fans are here.
Nolens.
Well, the Seahawks are playing, so Husky fans, they're in
Yeah.
the house watching Seattle play. They're
Give it
turned
to
up.
us right there. Well, maybe we'll start some Texas fight in here. What do you think?
I don't know.
It's going to be a hell of a game. I mean, the fan bases are confident. It's like when you go to the Red River Shootout, and when both teams are confident, like they were in 2008, you get Boomer Sooner over here and Texas Fight over here. When one team's not confident, you're only hearing one side of the fan base doing their thing. Both these fan bases are confident.
Yeah, when
in their
one loss and no losses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't that the cool thing that you see? Take, for example, yesterday, the game of Florida State and Georgia. It's like one team that gave a damn and the other one, well, whatever, for reasons that ended up the way it ended up. But you look at this right now and maybe both of those teams feel like they've been snubbed a little bit. Maybe Texas feels like they have been kind of undersold a little bit. Washington feels like they have just been overlooked a little bit. They're both coming in very confident. They're both coming in rolling. And I think the fan bases are juiced up. And I think both of these programs are hitting at full tilt right now. And they're gonna lock this
it's an
thing up
interesting
tomorrow.
point, Roddy, because both programs have reputations for being soft.
Exactly.
In the Pac-12, they don't play physical. It's all finesse. It's, and this Washington team is like, throw that out the window.
Right.
And Texas has been the country club that does less with more and has been battling the entitlement issue. And we know this Texas team is different. And so you heard it from both players on both sides of the, both teams. They are out to prove something in this game. Washington, we don't play soft finesse football. We play smash mouth football. Texas, we're not the program that does less with more.
Chip, talk about that part with the Texas program, because you probably know this better than anybody, being entrenched the way that you are right now. This culture right now, this program, it is so evident. The confidence, the belief in the coaching staff, the belief in the administration, all of that is there right now. And not only with football, the athletic program in general, but football's always been the outlier. That's always been the one that's always kind of, screwed the pooch, so to speak. But right now at full tilt with the coaching staff, with all of that, man, Texas, the confidence that you feel is very genuine, and it's across the board.
It is genuine, and I give Steve Sarkisian a lot of credit because
I agree.
He, we've talked a lot about the Culture Wednesdays, but the bottom line is Steve Sarkisian is a guy who's had to overcome a lot in his own life, and when your coach opens up to you about why he went to rehab and how he lost the head coaching job at USC, which was his dream job, and it all went out the window because of his own self-inflicted
mistakes,
unforced errors. Man, that resonates. And the players responded, and then they started, sharing their stories with each other, and it did build a bond. And Steve Sarkisian said it today. Sometimes when you make yourself vulnerable and your players make themselves vulnerable and they come together, you get a special season like this. There's no telling if that same magic, that same chemistry will be on next year's team.
It's true.
And because Buck, it every year is different.
They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
They really don't. They don't care about all of his coaching. They want to know that those kids want to know that they care about them as people. And I think he's done a great job of that. As I said, you see it in June recruiting. Nobody in the nation does what this group does in June. That's unheard of, how they get kids on a campus that doesn't have students on the campus, and they sell their parents where there's nobody to tell them this is a great place. They just are there, and they have them. Nobody recruits like that. That's amazing he's done that over the last 3 years. It's just it's hard to believe. I've been around recruiting a long time. I just have never seen anybody that can capture an empty campus like Sarkis and his staff. I don't know how. I'm still trying to figure out how do they do it. It's specialized, taking advantage of and being with these individuals, taking care of their parents, telling them exactly what they're going to do with their sons, and they bought it. They're buying it.
And they like to recruit.
Yeah.
And it is 24/7. You have to recruit, and then you have to keep recruiting your own players.
Oh, yeah.
You got to make sure that people aren't whispering NIL suite. nothing's into
You're
your
right.
players' ears, and Sarkisian seems to have the energy and the capacity for it. I mean, we find out Dan Mullen gets fired at Florida because he didn't like recruiting. Like, I don't know how he gets another job after that. I mean, you have to not only love recruiting, you have to be adaptive to NIL and the transfer portal. Sarkisian champions that message. The guy has killed it in the portal. Look at A.D. Mitchell. I mean, has there been a bigger addition to this team than Adonai Mitchell this year?
With the exception of Quinn Ewers, he's been the most valuable player that's ever come out of the portal for the University of Texas. So far in this early stage of the portal deal, there's nobody that's been more effective than he and the quarterback. It's incredible to me.
Every big play.
Yes.
3rd and 12 from the 13 with a minute left against TCU. 35-yard fade ball to Adonai Mitchell.
And that's the trust that not only the quarterback has in that player, but that's the trust that the coaches have to call that play for that particular player. It's been really cool to see. It's different. It's a different vibe when you watch this Texas team. And when you watch them take the field now, it's just different. You're just, but Chip, I've been preaching that no matter how you feel, when you go away from this game for 4 weeks and you've been around your friends and family and you have to make a commitment that you're going to have to make tomorrow, there'll be some guys on both sides that won't be truly, their minds will say yes, but their bodies will give you the, I have 4 weeks, maybe not enough. It just happens. And they don't mean to do it because they all want to do
right.
it. What
are you quoting R. Kelly over there? My mind's telling me no, but my body is telling me yes.
Here we go again.
Is that what I heard?
No R. Kelly up in here.
Hey, I'm just trying to figure out whose house it is in here. It wasn't really loud earlier, so everyone's trying to tell me it's someone's house, I think, but I couldn't hear anybody making any noise.
Well, I want to ask Buck because, have you all talked about the last? Well. Your last Sugar Bowl, 95?
Oh,
you want to talk about that, Buck?
I don't want to think about
the
that.
roster.
Was that the roster imposter?
The roster imposter.
Oh my goodness!
Can he play DB for this team tomorrow?
Can he?
He wasn't any good.
No, I don't know.
He was 30, but he wasn't any good.
He's probably in a walker by now, isn't he? You found him, didn't you? Who found him?
Oh, I didn't find him. It was the California newspaper.
Oh,
because the actual Ron Weaver, finally got pressured into saying, yeah, I let him use my driver's license to, take on my identity. But Buck, you get to the Sugar Bowl. Take us through it because
when we had that
Texas is playing Virginia Tech in the Sugar Bowl. James Brown at quarterback, Ricky Williams.
We had a middle of the afternoon meeting called an emergency meeting, and I was like, I remember saying, "Oh my God, what have my guys? What have they done?" Because I knew for sure it's one of them that's going to probably have to go home. I've got to escort him to the airport. You take him to the airport. He's going home. And then they told us all about what was going on with this imposter. I'm like, this kid has been to my house numerous times, but I was wondering why he was drinking black coffee. Everybody else was having lemonade. He was drinking straight up black coffee at my house. 30 years old.
30 years old.
Yeah, probably out back smoking cigs,
Dan Neal said he was the team bookie.
Oh, a little bit of everything.
And the players were all nervous about that because he disappeared, right?
This guy was, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like that. By the time you had that team meeting, he was gone.
Oh, he was gone. Where did he go?
Right. Like as soon as that story hit in the California paper, 2 days before that Sugar Bowl, Ron McKelvey disappeared.
Cousin Ron.
Yeah. Roster
good friends
imposter.
of the late Chad Patman. They were all, Ricky, they had known each other a little bit of time. It was scary. It was, like I said, scary for me because I thought for sure my guys were involved in this. Oh, no. Here we are at the Sugar Bowl.
How much of a distraction was that for the team going into that game?
I think it was late enough into it, though, because we played okay.
Yeah.
We played Virginia Tech early. They were good. That was a good Virginia Tech team. So I don't think it was kind of in the latter part. But
Michael Vick?
Yeah. No.
Not yet.
Was it
Jim Drunkenmiller?
Was it?
Oh, yeah, Drunkenmiller.
Yeah.
Michael Vick was the next year.
Yeah. It was kind of distracting, but not that much.
Yeah.
We'd already been into practice. We had numbers of practice, so it wasn't all that, but it's all distracting now. Anything that happens, when guys say stuff as we talk about guys that and in these bowl games, Chip, all the competition you have versus the other group over there, and I told BK, yeah, I'd be surprised they have eating contests
Right.
and weird stuff like that. It
Yeah, the
only takes,
Lowry's Beef Bowl at the.
yeah. I just say it takes one guy to be the wise guy that can turn the tide. But Texas team's been pretty calm. It's not been that's the part that surprised me because you're playing for this isn't the
Right.
jump bowl. This isn't just to say, oh, I was in a bowl game. This is a little bit different. Once you start getting the sugar bowls, the fiesta bowls, guys generally have their mouths they're pretty tight-lipped about how they say it. They don't want to give anybody an edge. I think Texas has been good at that all year long.
Yeah.
Now, other people around the Big 12 haven't been all
Right.
that good about it, including the commissioner, but the Longhorns have been really, really good. I think that's a part of the leadership that you talk about with Sark.
Well, I was going to say, and that's part of the like Chip was talking about right there, where you're constantly having to get these guys to buy in. If the coaching staff says, keep
Sure.
your mouth shut, don't be over there running your
Right.
head, and it's like, I want to say something. You don't do it.
They all want
You
to
don't
say
do it.
something. Yeah, you're right.
Right. To shut them up. I mean, these are kids. That's a lot to control right there, gentlemen. That's a lot.
I did crack up that Byron Murphy retweeted a tweet about Michael Penix saying it's not like we're playing the 49ers or the Eagles D-line, and Byron Murphy said 7:45.
He did it again.
Monday.
He
Yeah.
did it again.
He did?
That was the same tribute he gave to
Oh, it was.
Big
to
fat
Iowa State.
Jared Hufford.
Jared Hufford.
Yep.
So
Yeah, these guys are pretty careful. They don't want to give anybody an advantage, and especially now. They're just, hey, let's just play the game. Let's just move along. We'll talk after the game is over with. But those competitions are the bowl practices and things. It's just getting stuff. Coming back after 4 weeks is tough. And for me, it's going to be very interesting to see if this offense has got it together. The offensive line has really played well, I thought, this year. They're probably on schedule where they should be. I think everybody blew a lot of smoke up their rear ends last year, how good they were going to be, and their expectations were, the following year they were going to be unstoppable. But by the way, they were pretty good because, the running back was having an unbelievable year with this offensive line. But they've been kind of solid, solid across. I think for this group next year is the year for them as a unit on the offensive line will be one of the best units truly in college football.
yeah, and
And
it's
going into the
interesting-
SEC, you got to have it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Jake Majors is still like non-committal about coming back next year. He graduates, it this December, and I get the feeling he might not be back next year. So that could mean Cole Hudson. It could mean Connor Robertson. But Jake Majors, people. I don't know how many people understand this. Jake Majors handles all the protections.
Oh, yeah.
Like Quinn doesn't have to concern himself with that part of it. Jake Majors takes that off his plate so that Quinn can basically get out there and play ball.
I've always found it interesting. They've always been trying to replace that dude at center. He is the ultimate team guy.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate, that's the guy you need. He's the senator on that line. He has to be, he tells everybody where they're going, what they're doing. But they've always wanted bigger, stronger, faster, the whole works. And he's been great. I mean, I one time when he first got here, I said, man, that guy's going to be an All-American. Now, it just never progressed to the point. He just wasn't ever going to be that big.
Yeah.
He was what he was, but what a leader he's been here
Yeah.
for the university. He's really been a great leader.
You saw how much Texas missed him
Oh,
at the
yeah.
Cotton Bowl,
And the Cotton Bowl.
right?
Cost him the game.
That's the worst offensive line performance of the year for Texas. I don't think
You're
it's
right.
a coincidence that was the game where Jake Majors didn't play. He got hurt in the first quarter, the first drive of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
against
I
the
remember how they
Sooners?
had talked about this year we're going to find somebody to take that spot. We need a big son of a gun. We know a 6'5", 6'6" guy, 340 of 350.
You're talking about Cam Williams Collier over there?
Yeah, Collier. We
Yeah.
need a Collier in there.
He's in the wings, ready to go.
Yeah.
But it's been great to watch him. He's a scrap. You're talking about a scrapper. That dude has a little Dan Neal in him. Now he'll jump on the back of your leg. If your leg is out there and it's just dangling, don't be sure that dude at center will jump on the back of that leg. I mean, he will get after it. He is a gutsy guy.
Yeah. And BK, you mentioned it. The OU game ended up being the worst game for the offensive line because Majors goes down. It was Jalen Ford's worst game of the season, bar none. And Jalen Ford said after the game, I played every snap, and it was hot that day. That cannot happen. And I don't think it will. But everybody has to play their best game tomorrow night to move on to Houston next week.
Absolutely. Hold on, Buck. Before you leave, I'm going to need you to give some love to some travel partners
Oh, yes.
that only you could talk about.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So I'll give you the floor here.
I love our friends over at Leaf Garden Supplies. They've been fantastic. I've been going to Leaf Garden Supplies for over 25 years now. And when it comes to all the great gardening stuff, you know me, I'm such a gardener.
That's right.
You know, that I go for those guys for all the information that I need. I don't take it upon myself. They've got a facility at Monterey Oaks down south. Love going to see the folks over there, Trey and the gang over there. And then they have one up north. But when you're thinking about what you need to do with your landscaping, go to Leaf Gardening for sure, guys. Don't try it yourself. Find out what time of the year it is, what you can plant, what you can't plant, what's going to suit the soil in your area. But I love the folks there at Leaf. I look forward to doing them sponsoring, doing a lot more sponsorship with us. So thank you to them as a travel partner for sure.
Yeah, leaflandscapesupply.com is the website for them. All right, Buck, you're free to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Chip, what about you, man? A word for your friends over at Cover 3?
Cover 3, man. It's the go-to place. You want high-end food and the ultimate place to check out your team. Cover 3. My man Doug Young, Matt Dodson, a couple kids with a dream. They started it right there in Anderson Lane in 2008. Now look at them, 15 years. Just unbelievable food. The ruby trout, the ribeye tacos, my absolute go-to. The brunch on the weekends, the do-it-yourself Bloody Mary bar. Oh, it's so good. And of course, my man Mike Gonzalez and Hoops ATX, hoopsatx.com. Mike Gonzalez, he's going to put in the in-ground basketball goal for your kids that you can adjust so they can dunk when they're kids and just let them grow up on that hoop to where they're shooting on that 10-foot goal. He'll put in a whole sport court for you. I mean, pickleball, you name it, he's got you covered. Hoopsatx.com. Don't give your kids video games. Give them a reason to get outdoors and play some basketball. Hoops ATX, Mike Gonzalez, hoopsatx.com.
Yes, indeed. By the way, our guy Roland sent us a super chat, Chip, and he's asking you to get a red eye. He says, get a red eye on me, Chip. It's a drink. You know what a red eye is?
Do I need to order one right now?
I think we have to.
I think so.
Yeah.
Just in case. I don't even.
Oh, yeah.
A little tomato juice, a pinch of salt on a beer.
Pinch of salt on a
I thought
beer.
red eye is what Trey had this morning.
Oh,
Red eyes.
Couple of them.
Two
red
of them.
eyes.
Yeah, I think so. I think he still has them right now.
I think so.
Yeah.
He was doing something in the bathroom a couple of minutes ago, I think. So
Lord.
that's probably causing that. All right, I'll give some love to a Lake Cliff Golf Club as well. They've got a few open memberships out there right now. This doesn't happen often, but if you're looking to become a member at one of the finest golf facilities in all of Texas, our friends at Lake Cliff Golf Club, they've got you covered right now. It's one of the best and one of the most affordable clubs in the area as well. A beautiful course. I played out there a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely love it. LakeCliffGolfClub.com. That's the website. They'll even let you play a demo round out there to see if you like it before becoming a member. LakeCliffGolfClub.com. Fantastic diner, great food, great drinks, great people there as well. Once again, LakeCliffGolfClub.com. Many thanks to all of our phenomenal travel partners for allowing us to broadcast live from right out here in New Orleans. Is my voice cracked? Nobody heard that. Good.
Here at Manning's.
Yeah.
And Brock, who's part of our, incredible crew here, was hanging out with Archie Manning.
Archie Manning was here.
So, I mean, if you're in New Orleans listening to us, you need to get down to Manning's because this is where it's at. Archie Manning was hanging out.
Tomorrow is that big Texas One Fund party. Yep. Now, they're sold out of tickets, but apparently they're going to have a few available for purchase tomorrow at the door. So it starts at 10 a.m., so maybe don't even go to sleep. I was going to say wake up early, but just stay up for New Year's. You're going to be up late anyways. Just keep it rolling. Get that hair of the dog going. Come out here to Manning's. We're actually going to be broadcasting outside on the gazebo tomorrow, which is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. But the party goes on from 10 a.m. all the way till the end of the game. So if you don't have a ticket to the Sugar Bowl, but you're here in New Orleans, you can come watch the game right here at Manning's. There's like 75 TVs in eyesight right now. They're going to have the sound on during the game as well. This will be the place to be. You can buy tickets here, and also $50 from your ticket purchase will go to the Texas One Fund. So if you're happy that the Longhorns are here and you want them to continue to be playing in games like this, you can show your support by supporting the Texas One Fund, which, of course, is the big NIL collective for the university.
Well, one of the funnier moments, and we knew it was coming, was Media Day. And that's when all the players are available. And so in comes the 100-plus Texas Longhorns, and Arch Manning goes over and takes a seat on the bench with all of his, reserve teammates, and 22 reporters converge on him immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And at that point, Quinn Ewers was sitting all by himself at his podium, and someone got a great picture of Ewers looking over at all the reporters gathered around Arch Manning, and Ewers said, "He can have it all. He can have it all today. I'll take a break."
Zay, let me ask you this: could that serve as some extra motivation for Quinn Ewers? I mean, he's had to hear about it all year long. Obviously, Malik Murphy had to deal with it, right? I know you talked about this a lot when Quinn Ewers got into the game, when Arch Manning got into the game against Texas Tech. The fans went absolutely nuts. Like, you think Quinn Ewers is like, hey, I'm on a mission to show that I'm still the guy here in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in 2022, it might have affected Quinn Ewers for a negative way, but I think he's so confident and comfortable with himself here in 2023. Those things only ignite the fire, and let him have it. I mean, Arch Manning, we know he's going to get a lot of love. We know him being back at home and just all the hype with the last name. That's always going to be there. But if you're Quinn Ewers, you got your own job to do. And that picture, it's kind of hard to tell because Quinn Ewers was talking these last few days before Arch Manning even had a chance to talk. So some of these guys that were interviewing him, they already talked to Quinn, and everybody was itching to talk to Arch. So that picture looks a lot worse than it really is. But Quinn Ewers, he's ready to go, and he should be fired up, especially with the way he's played these last few games.
Yeah, I think the transformation that we've seen in Quinn Ewers is definitely one of the stories. Obviously, if this ends up in a Texas National Championship, you're going to go back and when you recount everything that the team went through, how the team came together, with injuries and Malik Murphy and everything that happened there. But I think you're really going to book in this, no matter what happens, the transformation ship that we saw in Quinn Ewers, and not just the physical stuff, but the mental. First part of the year, the mullet is gone. All of that. That's the most obvious thing. But when you sit and you listen to this dude right now compared to the way that we've heard him in the past, I mean, this is a guy that became a leader, that believed in himself, that believed in everybody else, that believed in higher powers, for crying out loud. And it just maximized every element of his game.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what's the confidence in Quinn Ewers tomorrow?
Well, his transformation really started during the bowl practices for the Alamo Bowl last year. I thought the Quinn Ewers we heard in the days leading up to that Alamo Bowl, where he talked about, after the OU game, the 49-0 game, he's like, threw for 4 touchdowns. I thought I had everything figured out. And then after the Oklahoma State game, I realized how much more detail I needed about opposing defenses. I thought he started to show the accountability and self-awareness that you really wanted to hear and see, because we knew he was the #1 recruit in the nation. He had a perfect recruiting rating. Last guy to have that was Vince Young. That's rare air. And he had the mullet and the NIL, and everyone was like, is this guy for real? Is this guy for real? That's, to me, when he started to sound like a guy who really wanted to win, who was willing to change things up. Then in February, he totally, cuts the mullet. He's losing the weight, and he put in the work. And that's what, when you talk to his teammates, that's what they're like. This guy is always putting in the work. He's ready. He always knows what's coming. There's a maturity, and everyone's like, well, I think he's coming back next year. Hold on. I mean, if this guy tears it up tomorrow night, and if he goes to the national championship game and plays, I want to say like Joe Burrow, but if he has those kinds of games these next, whatever, it's going to be hard for him to not turn pro because his stock is going to be doing this because scouts want to see that you can deliver on the biggest stage against the best competition. He did it against Alabama. Whatever you want to say about Oklahoma State, that was for a title. He did it. Now let's see if he can elevate even more and pick apart this Washington defense because that's the side of the ball you got to pick apart.
And do it in any way possible.
Sure.
Like I know Rodney, he's not messing with this, but if I need to see Quintavious Ewers out there and he needs to pick that thing up and run because nothing's open, run that damn ball, Quinn. You got a month to heal. You good.
Yep.
You're fine.
Slide.
Slide. Get out of bounds. Be smart about it.
Yep.
Like you watch Lamar Jackson as athletic as
that's
he
why
is.
I said ideally.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah, which is wild that I'm comparing Quinn Ewers to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
I'm just saying somebody that has all the athletic ability in the world. Look how smart Lamar's playing this year. They just blasted Miami.
Yeah, did you see that?
You know what I'm saying? So it's just you can learn, you can figure it out, and hopefully guys like AJ Millie and Steve Sarkisian are in his ear like, hey man, we can get back to that. Just don't lower your shoulder, play smart, and let's keep on moving these chains any way possible.
And he will do that. He'll do that on his own because I remember asking him about the weight loss, and he said this was just me. Like, I just thought I could do more to help this team. And I'm like, you mean running? And he's like, yeah, whenever it was there. And I was like, did Sarkisian talk? He's like, no. Like Sarkisian, he doesn't want us to run.
Yeah.
I mean, that was totally Quinn Ewers realizing, you know what, I got wheels. He had a 70-yard touchdown run in high school. I mean, he's got wheels. He can scramble for 8 yards on 3rd and 6. And I think you'll see that tomorrow night. The AC joint sprain is not, it's not 100%. But yeah. I mean, having that rest was big because that's the only way that injury heals is by just not putting it under duress. But I bet you'll see him scramble tomorrow for a couple of first downs.
Let me make sure I have this straight. Chip, you just said Quinn Ewers is as good as Joe Burrow, and
No,
Zay, you just
I
said
said if
Quinn Ewers is the next Lamar Jackson. Do I have these right?
I said if he has a Joe Burrow type semifinal.
Okay.
Hey, who knows? Quinn Ewers could have eaten some collard greens during this week.
Hey,
got
that's
some
right.
flavor in the system and said, you know what, Lamar Jackson, move over.
Yeah.
I'm athletic too.
So he is the next Lamar Jackson.
He might have a little bit in him. You ain't hearing it from me,
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma State was one of Quinn Ewers' best performance, if not his best performance. I mean, he set the record for most passing yards in a Big 12 championship game. And you think of some of the quarterbacks who have played in that game over the years, the Colt McCoys, the Sam Bradfords, the Kyler Murrays, the VYs. I mean, it's just ridiculous how many great QBs have been a part of that game. And for Quinn to do what he did against an Oklahoma State was ranked in the top 20. Like, I get it. They're not Washington. I keep saying that, but I almost feel like I'm making them sound like they suck. No, that's a good team that won 10 games this year. Like, that was the last time we saw Quinn when we still had questions about how healthy that air conditioner joint was, Rodney.
That's right.
He played maybe the best game of his career, so hopefully he's still beaming with some confidence from that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you have to know that there's going to be a lot of confidence coming off of that. And, if you go back and you think about that game, I mean, he did a lot, but I dare to say he kind of did it quietly.
Right.
I mean, obviously the accolades and everything about it, we're sitting here still talking about it. But if you really go back and watch it, I mean, there wasn't anything there to where he's like, ESPN top play of the day or any shit like that. It was a quiet performance, but man, like DK's talking about right there, when you compare that to some of those dudes that have been in that game, man, that right there, record breaking, that's just badass.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it.
Washington edge rusher Braylon Trice is a projected first-round pick. He could cause havoc to this game. Man. If you think about Christian Jones and Kelvin Banks, I don't think we talk about those guys enough because we just expect them to be great, which they have been solid all year long. But they're going to have their hands full with the edge rusher for Washington. Those guys, they can muck stuff up. So, hey, everybody has to be in sync. Quinn Ewers has to be protected, and if that pressure is coming, we know Quinn Ewers, he does a good job of throwing the ball out of bounds and getting rid of it. Hopefully he doesn't take sacks. Quinn Ewers sometimes he will hold on to it every now and then. We saw it too much in the Oklahoma game where I thought he should have gotten rid of it. He took some sacks that are just out of character. But, yeah, just staying ahead of the chains, not allowing those 3rd and 15s or 2nd and 15s where everybody's knowing that you're going to throw it, just keeping them guessing. I think that's going to play into Texas's hands just fine.
Yeah, he's got to, he's talked about, I got to be in the right mindset to get off to a quick start. He was not in the right mindset against OU. He looked sluggish. He worked himself into an urgency. He's got to have that urgency. He had it at Alabama. It was magical.
Yeah.
Like that first deep ball to Worthy connects, touchdown. All of Bryant-Denny Stadium was like, this is the stuff that couldn't happen. It was happening, and then it kept happening. He finds, JT Sanders. Quinn Ewers saw the field that night in a way that you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, this is every Longhorn fan's dream because he didn't miss. In fact, Worthy dropped a touchdown pass and Whittington dropped a touchdown pass, and they ended up kicking a field goal after Jahdae Barron's interception. Quinn was so locked in. He's putting it right where it had to be. And then everyone else, that's the way it needs to be tomorrow night.
Yeah, you called him a big game hunter earlier, and it feels like way more often than not in big games, in big moments, Quinn Ewers has stepped up, and he's going to have to do that tomorrow. I mean, in Texas's perfect world, Chip, I think it's Texas is able to establish the ground game, and they're able to control the clock and keep Michael Penix and that high-powered Washington offense on the sideline. But let's call a spade a spade. There's a chance this game turns into a shootout where Texas is going to have to be keeping up with Washington's high-powered offense. It's going to be on Quinn. He's going to have another one of those big-time games, more than likely, if Texas is going to find a W.
My concern is the safeties for Texas, and if Washington can target them and if they can make a big play early against them. We've seen Jaron Thompson kind of hang his head, and that's always been my concern about Jaron Thompson. When things are going well and he's making a play and he grabs an interception, he trusts his instincts and he's playing fast, he's fine. If he's hesitant or if he gets beat, it can slow him down a half step and it becomes a problem. And so they've got to survive that first half. I'm not saying we're making Derek Williams out to be freaking Ed Reed, and he's not Ed Reed. But
Derek Williams, the next Ed Reed?
We throwing some names out tonight.
Man,
not
we throwing some names out
not
tonight.
Ed Reed. Okay. Not Ed Reed.
Only Brian Dalk.
But the thing you love about Derek Williams is he makes everything. He goes 100 miles an hour, whether he's going to make the play or he's going to miss it.
Yeah.
He goes 100 miles an hour. He's not hesitant. And that's where I don't want to see, Jaron Thompson, because Jaron Thompson is the spiritual leader of that position group. And that makes me a little reach for the Tums because I've watched Jaron over the course of his career. And like I said, when things are going good, he's playing fast, he's playing loose. When things get rough, he can hang his head a little bit, and that cannot happen tomorrow night.
Well, if you remember in the Alabama game, he got toasted on one play.
Yeah, he did.
And he came back and got that big interception. So I think with age and experience, he's kind of overcome that a little bit. But I have seen that this year where he'll hang his head after he gets beat and never really overcome from that. But I'm interested to see, are they willing to put Jahdae Barron back there?
Right.
We know how versatile he is. We know how good he is at the star position. And, yes, you're going to need him there. But do you have confidence in Jalen Gilbo to maybe come in to play a few snaps?
And they do.
Yeah.
They do trust Jalen Gilbo.
Well, and that's where we go back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's going to be so important, the in-game adjustments. I've been singing that tune for the last week and a half to where that because, man, I really see this game is going to go back and forth. And I think for the Longhorns on both sides of the ball, they need to be prepared to get hit in the teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, and how are you going to get up? How are you going to respond to that? I mean, that's everything that I've seen this year. This is a big game football team. You talk about Quinn right there. How's he going to respond? Let's say, I hope it doesn't. Let's say he throws an interception or he fumbles the ball. How's he going to bounce back from that? Which I think he will do fine. And I think most Texas fans have the confidence in him right now to think the same. But that's what they need to be ready for, because I don't see either team laying an egg tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
That's probably the thing I'm most impressed about Quinn Ewers. Like all the Arch Manning hype, Quinn is like
Whatever.
I think it's cute. Like when he came in to the home game against Texas Tech, and it's a mob scene. The fans are losing their minds, and that first drive was awful. Like he was
Greatest
terrible.
2 for 5 performance we've ever seen.
Now
Right.
the
See
second
the
drive.
zip he had on those footballs?
Oh yeah,
Heisman
the
worthy.
zip. You see the zip he had on that overthrow.
Yeah.
Now that second drive, that 13-play drive, 13-play 91-yard touchdown drive.
Yep.
Beautiful. He had a fourth down conversion pass, a third down conversion pass. But Quinn Ewers, it was like no big deal. So I like Arch, blah blah blah. And then in the OU game, 3 turnovers, and he finishes it 26 of 28, 19 straight completions at one point. This is a guy who can rally. He can overcome adversity within the game. And I think that's another reason to think, because I agree, Rodney. I think Washington, they could hit a big play to start the game.
Well,
Be up 7-0, could be up at halftime. I don't think this Texas team will blink. I don't think Quinn Ewers will blink. But if the safeties are blinking, they got to have the stones to move Jahdae Barron back there and say, okay.
With what I saw from Jahdae Barron in coverage against Oklahoma State, I'm not feeling great about that too.
Well,
And I feel better about him than I do the other safeties that Texas has right now. But I hate that our last sort of glimpse of Jahdae Barron was maybe his worst performance of the year. Now, hey, you look at the first 12 games, he was awesome. We all, I think, agreed he should have been a first-team All-Big 12 player with what he put on film today. But maybe Kalen DeBoer and the Washington offensive staff are like, no, we can go after that guy. We don't need to be just focused on those safeties back there. Maybe 23 is going to give us something tomorrow night.
Yeah, and he's human. Every player on this team, Jalen Ford's had bad games. Kevin Banks on the other side has had bad games. These guys are human, but at the end of the day, I trust 23.
Yeah.
He probably has the best IQ on the defense. If you don't include Jalen Ford, you're talking about a guy that's always watching film, and he has some serious pride when it comes to being a Texas Longhorn and being the guy that's from the city of Austin. So, yeah, he didn't have the best showing in the Big 12 championship, but I also think he's one of those guys that baits other quarterbacks and other offenses to where, okay, in the first half, maybe you got me, but I might show you that same look to where you might think you get me again, and then I got you by making a big-time interception and changing the game with momentum-wise. So, yeah, I expect Jahdae Barron, even if he might get beat early on, to really clean it up and make guys pay in the second half.
he baited Jalen Milroe into an interception first quarter.
Yep.
Big play.
Yeah, but all of this goes back to I just truly feel that the staff, they know all this, and they hear guys like us talking about this all the time. They hear other folks talking about this all the time. They're going to have these guys ready to go, man. This is they know their weak spots. They know the weak spots. They're going to be coached up and they're going to be ready to go. I think that the like we talked about, the confidence level within the program with this team is just at an all-time high, and I really am. That X factor, to use that term, is going to be how do you respond?
Yeah.
How do you respond
Short
to what's
memories.
going to happen?
Short
Absolutely.
memories for everybody.
Got to forget it.
Y'all talked about Quinn Ewers. That to me is the biggest development we've seen from Quinn last year to this year. Now he's significantly better at just about every element of his game. But you think of the TCU game last year, the Oklahoma State game last year, if things weren't going his way, it would just snowball and get worse and worse.
Right.
This year it hasn't been the case. This is one of those games where, look, Washington, they're going to have a couple big plays.
Sure.
They just are. Those guys are on scholarship too, as Matt Brown would say. As good as we feel about Texas and as good as this Texas team is, Washington's got some dudes on the other side. So that's okay. They're going to score. They might have a 60-yard passing touchdown. All right, next play. Nothing you could do about it. Both sides of the ball. And they've shown this year, Chip. Texas has shown the ability. I think of the Alabama game. Texas goes down late in the third quarter. And how many teams fold in that spot, in that house?
And Adonai Mitchell is dancing.
Yeah.
To Dixieland Delight on the sideline in an absolute neck-and-neck football game, and then he goes out and scores 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
I was shitting bricks watching the game, and usually you see players going in that environment. They freak out if something like that happens, but this group has shown that ability. But it's a short memory game. It really is for everybody involved. There are going to be a couple of huge momentum swinging plays where one half of the crowd, I feel like it's going to be 70% Texas fans, but one portion of the crowd is going nuts. The other portion is silent, thinking they're in trouble. You have to have short memories, put stuff behind you, and then come back to find another play.
The one thing that we really haven't seen this year is Washington fall behind by 2 scores.
Yeah.
And Texas has not done well handling 2 and 3 score leads. They try to keep things in front of them, and next thing you know, they're in a
Dogfight.
and a dogfight. I think this game will be back and forth the whole way. And look, Washington 11-0 in 1-score games in the last 2 seasons under Kalen DeBoer. This team has had their back up against the wall. They have, 21 all against Washington State. They go for it on 4th and 1 from their own 27 with a minute and 11 left. You don't get it there. Washington State's in field goal range already, and they run the reverse to Adunze, 23 yards. They get down the field, kick a 42-yarder to win the game on the last play. Washington has been in nail-biter after nail-biter after nail-biter, and they win.
They're due. It means they're due, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is, like I said, if it was a championship fight, these fighters would be nose to nose in the stare down because they both have so much confidence right now.
Yeah, and it's been, Texas also. Like you're talking about, Chip, the blown leads and still being able to win.
Gutting it out.
Yeah, where in the past they wouldn't have.
Right.
They'd have lost those games. I think that's where these two teams come in, and they're so battle-tested right now. And, what I want to see tomorrow, we're talking about the secondary and all that, but just with the defense, if for whatever reason the offense goes cold, that's where it's going to be for the defense to step it up. To try to bring that momentum back over. I keep saying momentum because that's really what I see tomorrow. I just see it shifting back and forth because these are high-powered weapons, both of the offenses. Which defense comes up, steps up, and makes a big play, Zay? I think, final possession ball game, it's got to be a defense that has to win this contest.
Yeah, and like we've been talking about for 30-something days now, if you're Steve Sarkisian to keep Michael Penix and that offense off the field, are you going to utilize the run? Are you going to give the ball to C.J. Baxter, Jaden Blue, Keelan Robinson, whether it's 22 personnel, maybe throw some 21 or 20 personnel at them where Keelan Robinson and Jaden Blue, like both of those guys. Keelan Robinson, man, 12 carries this year, 3 of them have been touchdowns. I like that ratio.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like those numbers. So let's give Seven the ball. I've been talking about him ever since he's touched down from Tuscaloosa, how impactful he is of just making an explosive play anytime he touches the ball. Obviously, you have to get to him in specific times, but when he gets that rock in his hands, he is a difference maker, and he's shown us that these last few weeks. Let Keelan Robinson get some love along with the other 2 running backs and see what you can do against this very vulnerable Washington defense.
Think about that. 4 carries for Keelan Robinson in the Big 12 title game, 75 yards, including a 57-yard touchdown run, which was really on a pass, but it was kind of a lateral.
Yeah.
It was a lateral. And then an 11-yard touchdown run. So Sark is unbelievable at, like we said, layering the play calls and getting his best players in space, the football. And the latest wrinkle in that Big 12 title game was the yo-yo motion of Jordan Whittington running back towards the formation and then turning right before the snap and running back as a lead blocker for Keelan Robinson so that Jordan Whittington had a running start at the blocker.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what sprung Keelan Robinson for the 57-yard touchdown run. We hadn't seen that. It was brilliant. Sark is just like, I've had coaches say, I don't know how he gets all this stuff through to his players to where they can practice it well enough with all the motions and all the, extras that come with each play and for them to execute it so well. And Sark puts a lot on his guys. He says, we feel like the more we do well, the harder we are to defend.
Yeah.
And it means everybody's got extra homework. During spring football, if you don't have all this stuff down, you drift to the back of the line.
Yeah, and that's why you got to have intelligent guys that get it. When you're doing your recruiting, when you're in the transfer portal, you got to make sure there's guys that fit your culture, and that's not just jumping on campus and being like, oh, I want to be at UT. No, you better get it, because this offense is very complex. And we saw the first 2 years, all those self-inflicted wounds, just timely false starts, just a lot of crap that you wouldn't want to see in the defense that's offense that's very disciplined. And now it seems in the third year, they're finally getting it.
Okay, you bring up the false starts, and Washington has a ton of false starts. It's crazy. And Troy Fontenot, their left tackle, has the most.
Yeah.
And Washington is the third most penalized football team in FBS. Now, if you talk to some coaches, they're like, I don't give a crap about that. Mike Leach's teams were always the most penalized. They scored the most points. But the majority of the penalties have come on the Washington defense, including 17 pass interference penalties, including 7 on Jabbar Muhammad and 5 on Elijah Jackson. So they're handsy, they're physical, and sometimes they pay for it. So this is another situation where I want Adnan Mitchell to have the game of his life tomorrow, because that guy goes up and wins contested catches, and he puts DBs in bad spots.
It's one thing when those pass interference penalties come with the defense being really good at defending the pass, but the fact that they're bad at defending the pass and they get a lot of pass interference penalties is definitely something to watch tomorrow.
Kevin Marr is not in New Orleans, is he?
It's a Big Ten crew.
Big Ten crew. Okay. Can't
Which
be
is-
worse than a
which
Big
is
12
where
crew.
Washington's going next year.
Oh,
Ooh,
I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
I guess we'd have to get an ACC
Have to get an
crew.
ACC
Yeah.
crew.
Pac-12 crews don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and you can't have a crew from the conference where the team resides. So you can't have Big 12 or Pac-12. And it wouldn't be fair to have an SEC or a Big 10 crew. And ACC refs aren't very good either. So
Yeah.
None are.
none are. No refs are good. Let's get Brad Allen. Hopefully he hooks up the Longhorns
Oh,
like he hooked up
Brad.
the Cowboys last night, Chip.
Oh, that was a crushing.
Clean game. Congrats
Rushing
to
blow.
your Lions on trying to cheat by not reporting an ineligible receiver
God.
as eligible.
He told
Brad
him before
Allen,
the game.
The Kevin Marr of officiating in the NFL.
It's great calls.
Chip, I'm
Unbelievable.
dating the Lions this year. I know you're a longtime fan, even though they lost in a pretty soul-crushing fashion where they were fucked by the refs.
Nope.
Cause for optimism going forward that they were able to not just stick in a game like this, but theoretically they won that game.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
Dan Campbell said we'll see these guys again. So,
Ooh,
like,
them
I think-
fighting words.
yeah.
Cool.
yeah.
Sign me up for it. Lions in the playoffs against the Cowboys. What could go wrong?
Unfortunately, that blown call by Mr. Allen cost the Lions a chance at home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I don't
Yeah.
know what happened to the Eagles. They were playing the Cardinals.
They lost.
They lost.
See?
Cowboys
The
are about to win
Lions-
that division, baby.
Wow.
The Lions would have had home field.
Mm.
Well, there's one more game to play, right?
There is one more game to play. Yeah, week 18 coming up. Shout out to MGK for the nice $20.24 super chat. Here's to a great Sugar Bowl and a great 2024 for the Longhorns and for Texas Sports
Let's
Unfiltered.
go, MGK.
Thank you
Going to
very
hand
much.
grenades tonight.
It is absolutely.
Oof, yeah.
Are y'all going to hand
Look at
grenades?
that.
I'm more of a hurricane guy myself, but I don't
was gonna say.
discriminate.
That is the best thing going. They give you like the worst alcohols and mix it with trash can punch and
Is
feel
that
like you're
vodka, rum? What's
back
in
in
a
high
hurricane?
school.
What is
Oh
in a
yeah,
hurricane?
everything.
Everything is
Oh, yeah.
just like the hand
Just
grenades.
like-
Some 151, some Everclear,
Oh, yeah.
perhaps.
All of it.
We need to get Zay's take on the party that we attended with you for about 5 to 10 minutes last
Yeah,
night.
'cause
We
I
haven't
thought-
heard from him on this one.
I thought Zay was like, why the hell did I come all the way into town
I
for this?
was like, why the hell did you call us, letting us know, hey, this is the happen spot, Sheridan.
Well, I just
42nd
saw
floor.
all that booze. You saw that booze. You
I
poured
did.
yourself an extra drink
I
before you
had
got.
about 3 drinks in 10 minutes. It was nice.
It wasn't all that booze. It's not like it was a full bar going on.
Yeah.
There were a couple of bottles of alcohol.
Well,
Let's not
uh-oh.
overstate.
Wow,
the-
we
the
Here it
have-
comes.
fact.
We have
Here
Medea's
comes the
family
truth.
reunion trying to kiss up on Trey. What is this?
All right, so you guys are pissed at me.
No, I had a good time. It's a great story.
Oh,
but-
I'm not upset at all. It was one of those New Orleans moments that, like, as I tell the entire story from the weekend, it's going to be one of the initial parts of things. You know,
I mean, it was a cluster, to say the least. And we're like trying to salvage her birthday party by getting more people there. And as it turns out, that just brought more attention from the hotel staff, who's like, what is this full bar doing in our club lounge that is not our alcohol or people paying for our alcohol? And sure enough,
That argument had started by the time we walked in. Like, we walked into the chaos. We looked at one another right when we walked in. Like, what the fuck did we just enter here? And sure enough, it was the shit show that we felt.
Hey,
Yeah.
As we entered.
when I think nightlife in New Orleans, I don't think Pat O'Brien's. I don't think Bourbon O'Bar. I don't think Sazerac. I think the Sheridan, baby.
the Sheridan. Okay,
42nd
so where
floor
did y'all
of the
go after that?
Sheridan,
Did you go to the
baby.
casino?
No, we walked down Bourbon Street, right? From there?
Went to the Marriott.
Oh, Marriott.
Bourbon.
and
You guys
Bourbon Street,
hotel
yeah.
hopping here? Is
Yeah,
there a Hotel
That's
6
the
involved?
Longhorn Hotel.
Yeah, the Marriott's a really cool place to hang out for a Longhorn fan. All you Washington fans may not want to be there, but the Sheraton's right across the street, so it was an easy hop, skip, and jump across the street. And beautiful view, by the way.
Yeah.
42nd floor, you saw all the way down Canal.
I think all the Washington fans are here right now.
There are a lot. It's thinned out a little bit. I think there was maybe an event going on outside or something. But yeah, hey, Washington fans are representing. I love that aspect of this matchup. I didn't expect it, honestly. I lived in Oregon for a little bit more than a year, and Washington fans might agree with me on this one. Oregon fans are soft. So I just always kind of assumed that Washington fans would be soft as well. Washington fans have a toughness about it. I'm a tip of the cap to you guys. Y'all are embracing the hate really well, too. And it's going to be a damn shame to beat you tomorrow.
They're taking on the personality of their head coach,
Yeah,
That's right.
Kalen
No
DeBoer.
nonsense.
it's good pandering for a moment there, Trey, and then you just stabbed him right in the back.
I got to represent right now.
They're all here because the Seahawks are playing, and there's like 400 TVs with the Seahawks game on right now.
Yeah.
Seahawks, Steelers, baby.
Like all 400 Washington fans in the city are at Manning's right now.
The Seahawks, which are the definition of mediocrity in the NFL this year, which about half the league is
Yeah.
that, though.
Sure feels that way. All right, before we get back into Texas and Washington, we got about 15 minutes left in our live broadcast. Shout out to everybody for being here. Shout out again to Manning's for hosting us. We will be right outside of Manning's Sports Bar and Grill tomorrow on the promenade. There's a nice elevated gazebo. You'll be able to find us incredibly easily if you're just walking around. Obviously, the big Texas One Fun tailgate party is going to be happening right around here as well. So if you're still looking for a place to pregame the game tomorrow night, come find us and come be a part of all of the happenings surrounding Manning's Sports Bar and Grill tomorrow. Got to give some love to our friends at Covert Bee Cave. They had us riding out here in style. Trey and Zay, you guys were both in the car, the ginormous Yukon XL. Thing's beautiful, man.
What is it you kids say? Sled? That's what you call cars or sleds? I've gotten to drive that sled quite a bit, and it's a really nice ride, even though we have random pieces of metal flying at us on these nasty Louisiana highways.
Yeah, I might get hit with a little insurance payment on that, but that's all right.
It'll be worth it if the Horns get the dub.
Of course,
There can't be another roadway in America that has more tire shrapnel on it than I-10 going through Louisiana. It is crazy. One tire after another.
Yeah,
Who did the most driving?
BK and I split it up pretty evenly.
that was just
but
the two of
I was
us.
glad he was able to get a nap in before the end of the drive, as we were starting to hit a little bit of traffic going into New Orleans, which didn't matter at all because he still went to bed without going out last night. I was so surprised when I gave him a call as we were heading to Bourbon Street. He's like, I'm turning in. I'm tired. I'm like, wow, I am so proud / disappointed in you right now.
So Bucky went to the casino by himself?
he did.
He's done that like 3 times since we got here.
Cleaning it up too.
It's a
Yeah.
second home.
He's just taking cabs. He's the only person still taking cabs in 2023. No
Let's go,
Ubers,
Buck.
no lifts.
I know.
Love
He's
it.
like, I'm going to call a cab. He said that this morning. I'm like, no, just take an Uber. He's like, I like the cab system better. They were there quickly, too.
He didn't say I like. He just doesn't know how to use an Uber. That's his
That's part of
excuse.
it.
He had to
That's
roll
part
with
of
the
it.
cab right there.
All right, what's the bedroom situation at the frat house?
Bucky and I are sharing a room. Were you sleeping naked, by the way? Did you get
Oh,
up
my
naked this
gosh.
morning? Yeah.
Hello.
Oh hell
I
no!
saw it out of the corner of my vision. My unfortunate John Stockton peripheral vision to the left failed me because I got to see that. And a little bit of a baby arm holding an apple situation, Bucky. Congratulations to you on that one.
God.
And I don't know who else is staying with whom other than Rodney and his lovely wife getting their own bedroom, which is how it should be.
Yeah.
Smart move.
Yeah. Zay and I are
Bring
sharing
the
a
wife.
room. Yeah, that's how it works.
Get the bedroom.
And
Yeah, what a finesse job by Rodney.
Oh, I know.
Genius.
Genius.
Genius. Oh, I brought my wife. I'll get my own room. Okay, Rodney.
Yeah.
Where you sleeping,
We
Zay?
get it. Me and BK
Yep.
shacking up.
And intern Brock's dad got his own bedroom. He's the father of the trip, so we made sure to hook him up, give him his own spot. And
Okay.
then, yeah, it's been good.
All right, good.
We'll leave a couple of open beds, which means some of the homeless
Yeah.
across the street, they've got a place to
No,
stay
that's
tonight.
not what that means.
What do you mean?
That's not.
I'm trying to home the homeless.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fight one of the
unhoused.
biggest problems in New Orleans here.
The unbedded.
Yeah. Come on,
Save
man.
that for your next trip.
Okay. I'm back in Austin. I guess I could probably do that at home. I don't have to go to New
Yeah,
Orleans.
just get yourself ready for the big game tomorrow night, whatever that takes.
We're ready. CovertBeeCave.com, the longest, most confusing live read of all time, is now done. Also, shout out to Domino's. Love our friends at Domino's. Ordering Domino's is easier than ever before. You can do it really anywhere. Domino's.com. They've got the mobile apps on iPhone and Android and all the smartphones out there. You can order it from your smart speaker, from your smartwatch. They've got the pizza tracker too. Domino's is legit. You'll have to make sure you check out their new pepperoni stuffed cheesy bread. Yeah, you know about the pizza. The pizza's top notch. It's as good as it gets. But the pepperoni stuffed cheesy bread, if you haven't tried this yet, it's their newest stuffed cheesy bread. I've been housing stuffed cheesy bread since like the 4th grade. The pepperoni is fantastic. It's melted cheese. It's pepperoni. It's bread. There's no better combination in the entire world.
And our guy Ike owns 4 different Domino's. He's doing this just because he loves Domino's enough that any Domino's you're nearby, order from. But Ike's Domino's are in Lago Vista, Burnett, Treviso, and Lampasas as well. So
There you
if
go.
you're in any of those communities, when you order Domino's, you are – there we go. That's better.
Oh, nice.
When you order Domino's –
Welcome to the show,
I was
Trey.
wondering why it didn't
It's
sound
not
that
just
good.
me. Thank you.
When you order Domino's from one of those locations, you're ordering from somebody who is a big supporter of Texas Sports Unfiltered. We love Ike, a big foodie, that Ike.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of supporters of Texas Sports Unfiltered, our man Tom McKay, Audiovisual Consultations. This looks like a setup maybe he did.
Oh, yeah.
They got the TVs down pat here at Manning's. But, hey, you think of Pluckers back home in Austin, that was all done by Audiovisual Consultations. If you want that man cave or woman cave style setup in your home, AV Consultations can make it happen. They've been in business since 1988. They've been around longer than I've been alive. They can hook you up with the home TV setup of your dreams. Just give them a call, 512-255-8678, or check them out at avconsultations.com. And one final shout out, Hayes City Store, their great spot down in Driftwood. We've all been telling y'all about that place for years. The incredible burgers, the enchiladas, the chicken fried steak that's bigger than your head. 40 beers on tap, giant TVs, that massive outdoor patio. They've got live music, and they've got great vibes all the time down there in Driftwood. Go check them out at Hayes City Store.
And now they got the new
Taste on Main.
on Main.
Oh, I went there a couple of weeks ago. Next level. Steaks, seafood, great cocktail menu, happy hour 7 days a week, right there in downtown Buda. They got plenty of parking too, which is nice. I hear downtown and I'm thinking I can't park anywhere. They got parking right there by the restaurant. A phenomenal dining experience, a Taste on Main. So shout out to all of our great travel partners once again for allowing us to be here in the Big Easy, bringing y'all boots on the ground coverage. No other radio station or media outlet is doing what we're doing here at Texas Sports Unfiltered. So make sure you share this thing, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're just about to hit 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. So many thanks to all of you guys for helping us out.
Yeah, AV Consultations, Tom McKay.
Yep.
Put the TVs in cover 3, cover 2.
There you go. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
they can take care of you. All you got to do is call 255-8678, and Tom and his crew will bring everything to you.
I'm going to ask you guys each, and I know y'all will all be a part of the pregame show tomorrow, so we'll save the score predictions for tomorrow. But I want a key to the game. I'm sure y'all could each give me 10 keys to the game. But the most important thing that Texas has to do, any of y'all can start, the most important thing that Texas has to do to get a win tomorrow night is what?
They're going to have to score points because Washington is going to score points too. So that starts with the passing attack. Sark loves to throw it early and often. And then also getting the run game going in a variety of ways. And that could be the traditional route by handing off the football, or as everybody has talked about over these last couple of weeks, getting the ball to the running backs through the air, screen passes and things like that. So Texas is able to get into a track meet with Washington. I think they win this game because I believe that Texas has better playmakers on defense who will step up when it matters most. We've seen it all year long. That group has shown a level of resilience that gave me the initial faith that we would see them at this point in the year with a chance to play for a national championship in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's great points, Trey. I think they're going to have to run the ball.
Yep.
The Horns, they're going to have to just make some type of running game to get the ball out of Michael Penix's hands just for a little bit, control the clock. CJ Baxter, Jaden Blue, Keelan Robinson, get those guys involved. And it could even be just short passes to where it's basically a running game or screen game. Anywhere, get the ball in your playmakers' hands out in the backfield and have them making moves up the field. I'm with that.
Yeah, just dovetailing on what you just said, Zay, to me, the masterpiece game plan from Texas this year was against Kansas when they ran the hell out of the ball 51 times, 300 yards rushing, held the ball for 40 minutes. Like, I get Jalen Daniels wasn't in that game. Jason Bean was, but Jason Bean beat Oklahoma, Kansas,
Had a great year.
had a great year. Their offense is hard to defend. They didn't let that offense on the field because they just ran it down. And that's a way to take care of Washington. Their run defense isn't outstanding. It's good. But it's gettable. So I'm going to go with kind of what I've been saying about T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. These guys have played as well as any defensive tackle tandem probably since Casey Hampton and Shawn Rogers. And I think Casey Hampton should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that's as big a, praise I can give to T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. But they have that kind of chemistry. Sweat is going to eat the double team. Murphy's going to shoot gaps. He's so good technically at getting into the gaps. And, that's why you can't believe there hasn't been more holding calls against the guys that are holding Byron Murphy. But if you get pressure on Michael Penix Jr. up the middle, your life gets a lot easier. His completion rate drops from 59% when blitzed to 43% when pressured. He will beat your blitz. He knows where the hot guy is. He'll get the ball out. But if pressure's coming from places he doesn't expect it, that's when he starts to make the ignorant throw.
Ryan Watts, shout out to him.
And you can get him. So T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, legacy game.
Interior pressure.
Yeah,
you guys are all right? Texas is going to have to score. The run game's got to be effective. They've got to get pressure. Good news for the Longhorns is they're second in the nation in pressures this year. You're not asking them to do something that they haven't done much of against one of the best offensive lines in the sport. This is what they've done all year long. And, I've got faith that they're going to make it happen as well. It kind of goes along with what you said, Trey. Quinn Ewers, you talk about legacy games. Quarterbacks' legacies are defined by championships, whether it's fair or not, right? Football is a team game. People get mad when you look at win-loss records for quarterbacks and you blame them or you give them credit based on how well the team does. Regardless of how you feel about it, quarterbacks' legacies are defined by championships. And this is a Sugar Bowl championship that Texas is playing in. And obviously they're 2 wins away from a national championship, which is the biggest championship you can win at this level of the sport. Quinn's got to be on. It's got to be Oklahoma State Quinn. It's got to be Alabama Quinn. It can't be – I don't care what Quinn Ewers did in the last 3 quarters against Oklahoma. Like, you can't have a quarter like he had in the first quarter at the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma. You turn it over 3 times against Washington's offense. Washington's a lot better than Oklahoma. It's game over right there. So Quinn has to be awesome. Easy to say. The quarterback's got to play well for you to win a big game. But this, you talk about legacy games. Chip, you brought it up. Quinn could be going to the NFL soon if he has 2 really, really good performances in these next 2 weeks. He's got to be just about as good as the Heisman runner-up and Michael Penix Jr. tomorrow night if Texas is going to move on, because I have some serious reservations about this Texas secondary. I think Washington's going to score. I don't think this is first to 30. I think this is a first to 40 type of game. And in a matchup like that, you need QB1 to be on one. And that's what I think it's going to take for Texas to advance to Houston on January 8th.
And they need their good special teams.
That helps.
To show up. The special teams that we saw against Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, and not the special teams we saw against Baylor, when they're dropping punts and muffing, or, Ryan Sanborn's been really good all year, but he needs to be, 47-yard average good. Everything needs to be heightened, because I just think this Washington team feels like it's the team of destiny, and you got to smack that taste out of their mouth, and you got to smack it early. Yeah. Don't create doubt. Be the first team to create doubt in the other team. Don't let them grow in their belief. Smack that out of their mouth early and then make them be like, oh, wow, okay, we haven't seen this before. We got to regroup. We got to gather and then punch them again and just keep them on their heels.
Bird Auburn, be ready.
Yeah,
Like I said, I know we got to be off soon. Bird Auburn, be ready.
Could be a Bird Auburn game for sure.
Stay locked in, bro.
Yeah. Washington hasn't trailed that much this year, Chip. You brought that up earlier. So if you throw that first punch, you get an early lead, you put them in an uncomfortable situation, and that could help out the Longhorns a lot. Gentlemen, this was fun.
Hell yeah.
We'll be back.
Let's go.
Just outside tomorrow. Weather should be good. High of 60 tomorrow. That's about as good as you can ask for on January 1st. Should be good weather. We'll be right outside of Manning Sports Bar and Grill in the little gazebo on the promenade outside. You do not need a ticket to go see us. Now, they've got the big Texas One Fun party here inside Manning's. We encourage y'all to buy tickets to that. They're going to be selling some at the door tomorrow. If you want to be a part of that, that's great, but definitely come by and see us. We'll be live from 2 to 6. So before you make your way to the Superdome, come by, get ready for the game. We'll have koozies to give away to the people, and it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun as we have finally reached 2024. But more importantly, Trey, we finally reached January 1st, 2024, the Allstate Sugar Bowl.
Thank goodness. Yeah, first gazebo broadcast for Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Gazebo Burger. Shout out to them. Remember that place?
No.
All right, I'm going to shut up. I should have quit while I
Shout
was
out
ahead.
to Corey Mose over there. What's
There he
up,
is,
Corey?
The great Corey Mose.
Happy New Year.
Indeed. All right, that's going to do it for us here at Texas Sports Unfiltered live at Manning Sports Bar and Grill. Had a great time today. Thanks to everyone who made this broadcast possible. Shout out to intern Brock, who has been doing all the camera work. If you've been watching on YouTube, you see all the camera changes going on. Brock has been at the helm there.
I got him a Longhorn chain that should do him a lot of good tonight. Enjoy that one, Brock.
He's wearing it backwards.
He is wearing it backwards.
I'm nervous about Brock tonight. I'm not going to lie.
The kid has a near 4.0 GPA at UT, and some of the stuff that he does, I just don't get.
I'm nervous about him tonight. I'm going to have to keep my eye on my guy because he could get a lot of control out there.
Yeah, we're losing the security deposit at the Airbnb because of that kid. There's no doubt about that. Shout out to Brock. For Bucky Godbolt, for Rodney Rodriguez, for Trey Elling, Zay Collier, and Chip Brown, I am BK Brad Kellner. Please like this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe to Texas Sports Unfiltered if you have not done so. And we will be back tomorrow. We'll actually start at 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll have all-day programming, but once again, the pregame show from 2 to 6 just outside of Mannix. Y'all have a good night. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Be safe. Be smart. Plan a sober ride home. Don't be an idiot tonight. And look forward to seeing all of y'all tomorrow.
Let's go.
Guys.